inside you. So won't you wake up now and see? Don't hide away the things you're feeling. Unlock your mind and lose the key. There's a universe inside you. You should never have to hide. I can see the stars inside you. Please just open up your eyes. There's a universe inside you. Inside you, so much more than people know. I've seen you fighting your emotion. I hope you stay and won't let go. There's a universe inside you, so much love to leave behind. Stop the path of devastation. You should live for all the hype.
Witamy wszystkich bardzo serdecznie na kolejnym dniu E3. Dzisiaj się nie spodziewaliśmy w sumie, że będziemy tego streama robić, ale wyszło na to, że jest dużo paneli o cyberpunku dzisiaj. I dzisiaj to ogłosili i dlatego też dzisiaj będziemy to oglądać. Ale zaczniemy tego streama od podsumowania
Square Enix. Warto jeszcze dodać, że poza cyberpunkowymi panelami będzie również Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Spider-Man oraz... co jeszcze?
The Last of Us 2, ale to nie dzisiaj te wszystkie konferencje, które wymieniliśmy. Dzisiaj słabo się przygotowali, dzisiaj będzie tylko i wyłącznie The Last of Us i Cyberpunk 3 razy, plus pewnie obejrzymy sobie making of Fallouta 76.
Ja nie, ale...
Taki jest mniej więcej plan, no ale w każdym razie przechodząc już do meritum tego naszego wcześniejszego rozpoczęcia, no to zaczniemy od podsumowania konferencji Square Enix. I tak, pierwszą grą, jaka nas ciekawi z tej konferencji, jest Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Wydaje mi się, że nie słyszycie, jeszcze tylko muszę się upewnić, ale chyba nie słyszycie muzyki z systemu naszego, także to jest akurat dobre. I co możemy powiedzieć o grze?
Jest to trzecia część rebootu serii właśnie nowego od Square Enix. Ja dodam, że pierwsza i druga część mi się bardzo podobały, były niezwykle zacne.
Mi również.
Z tą swoim ty grałeś w obie?
Grałem w jedynkę, w tą pierwszą część, a tego najnowszego Tomb Raidera oglądałem u Sarge'a.
Dwójkę masz na komputerze, więc jak chcesz sobie ją ograć, to...
Nie, raczej nie, bo już widziałem w sumie całą mówię na YouTubie, także raczej mnie to nie interesuje. Jedna rzecz, jakie ja mam zastrzeżenie do tego, co oni tu pokazali, w tle widzicie tylko trailer, a był jeszcze pokazany gameplay i ten gameplay wyglądał dziwnie.
Będą nas
po prostu dziwnie, ponieważ cienie były jakieś takie, no po prostu złe, brzydkie. No, nie wiem dlaczego i mam nadzieję, że to zmienią.
Po drugie, największą chyba obawą wobec tej gry jest, myślę, że nie sama opowieść, nie sam świat, bo to na pewno będzie, w sumie mamy małe zastrzeżenia wobec grafiki, ale to się pewnie jeszcze zmieni. Dużo osób w tym obawiają się, że gameplay to będzie kalka poprzednich dwóch części, przynajmniej ostatniej, czyli Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Tak, może się tak zdarzyć.
Ja uważam, że nie naprawię czegoś, co nie jest zepsute, ale trochę innowacji by się jednak przydało. Bo wielu ludzi właśnie się tego obawia. No zobaczymy, jak to wyjdzie. Myślę, że tak czy siak ten typ właśnie rozgrywki jakby... No zawsze będzie dobrze, zawsze będzie dobry w każdej postaci. Tak można było oczywiście go poprawić, trochę go zmienić, co pewnie się stało. Nie widzieliśmy jeszcze dużo materiałów z tej gry. był właśnie krótki gameplay, na którym się działy jakieś dziwne rzeczy z grafiką, o czym już wspominał Kuba.
No i co?
cóż,
I to tyle, jeśli chodzi o Tomb Raidera. Zobaczcie trailer. A za chwilę przechodzimy do kolejnego tytułu, jakim jest tytuł od Dotnod, twórców Life is Strange. I oj, się zapowiada ciekawie. Ale tak jak mówię, najpierw zobaczcie trailer najnowszej Lara Croft.
I thought I knew why I came here. I saw it. The end. It was so vivid. But now the truth feels further away than ever. I still have so many questions.
You said you were going out, but I heard you through the wall. I said don't go far. You had me searching for a reason, but I was in the dark.
We can't let Trinity get hold of this.
Let's think this through. Do you realize the tragedy you have unleashed? The cleansing has begun. It falls to me now to stop it. It consumes us all.
What have I done?
What a shame you can't hear me. I speak louder. Thought you could keep me in reserve.
I know that it's not practical. I know that it's hard to believe.
Well, you fed me a fable, but I know the taste of mine.
You don't know that you caused all this, Laura!
You need to trust me.
We have to trust each other.
I speak louder.
He wants to alter the course of humanity. If you had that power, what would you do?
I słuchajcie, to był Tomb Raider, a teraz coś, co było wielkim zaskoczeniem na konferencji Microsoftu, ale powiem o tym na Square Enix, ponieważ była ponownie krótka prezentacja, a po drugie jest to gra, którą wydaje Square Enix. I jest to The Amazing Adventures of Captain Spirit. I jest to gra, która będzie po pierwsze darmowa.
Life is Strange!
Jest w Universal Life is Strange, jest darmowa, wychodzi 26 czerwca, o ile się nie mylę.
Ale to jest cała darmowa,
I
czy pierwszy epizod jest darmowy?
To jest dobre pytanie, ale wydaje mi się, że to będzie w ogóle krótka gra i to ma być coś pewnie w stylu wprowadzenia do drugiej części Life is Strange. I będzie za darmo
Będzie
26.
to albo jeden epizod, to jest mój gest, albo będą 3 epizody, albo nawet 2 darmowe.
Zobaczymy, w każdym razie gra ma być darmowa według tego, co prezentowali, ma wyjść już niebawem i na pewno w to zagramy, bo się zapowiada bardzo ciekawie, a Life is Strange to jest naprawdę gra bardzo mocna, tak więc...
To jest legenda, zawsze będzie w moim sercu wielkim tytułem i...
Tak więc zobaczymy jeszcze, jak dokładnie to wszystko będzie wyglądać. Premiera, tak jak mówię, już niebawem 26 czerwca, tak więc zdecydowanie ogram to również na kanale, także możecie się spodziewać serii. A teraz zobaczcie trailer, tych dwóch panów sobie o tej grze coś tam powie i przechodzimy za chwilę do następnego tytułu, który będzie o rozwałce. Ale to tak jak mówię już za chwilę, na razie obejrzyjcie zwiastun The Amazing Adventures of Captain Spirit.
I thought I knew why I came here. I saw it. The end.
ready for battle.
Hi everyone, my name is Michel Kor.
And my name is Raoul Barbet. We are the two creative directors of Life is Strange at Dontnod Entertainment.
As you may know, we have just revealed the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit. It's a brand new story in the Life is Strange universe. And this full experience will be available to download for free on the 26th of June.
To us, Life is Strange is not a single town or set of characters. Captain Spirit is our way for introducing the players to the many stories we want to tell in this expanded universe. Captain Spirit is not Life is Strange 2, but it will be your first steps into this world.
The game is hiding many secrets and even some links to the brand new story and characters of Season 2. So make sure you take all your time to explore.
We cannot wait for you to experience Chris's story. We hope you will enjoy it. Have a great E3, and from all the Life is Strange team at Dontnod, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now I just need to make a cool costume for Captain Spirit.
Kolejny tytuł, tak jak mówiłem, o rozwałce, mianowicie Just Cause 4. I tak, po pierwsze, ta gra wygląda naprawdę zacnie, silnik Apex od Amazonu wygląda prześlicznie, podobno ma być zajebiście realistycznie symulowana fizyka, między innymi wiatru, co jest na pewno zajebiste. Jednak ja mam jeden problem z Just Cause'ami, ze wszystkimi Just Cause'ami. Jak bardzo by ta rozwałka zajebiście nie wyglądała i by nie była przyjemna, a ona się po prostu szybko nudzi. Także raczej w tą grę nie zagramy na 100%, może obejrzymy trochę u jakiegoś youtubera T-Volta na przykład, jeżeli będzie to nagrywał. Właśnie o tym, jak po prostu niszczy chwilę, żeby się napatrzeć, jak to może ładnie wyglądać, właśnie jak to będzie realistyczne.
Właśnie
A
to
jeśli
jest
chodzi o granie,
jakby,
to...
dla mnie każdy Just Cause to jest jakby, nie wiem, kurwa, test silnika właśnie graficznego na przykład, możemy tak traktować, albo jako jakiś pokaz.
Tak, także nie będziemy nic więcej mówić o tej grze, bo też za bardzo nie mamy co do niej oczekiwań. Wygląda ładnie, zobaczcie trailer. Miejmy nadzieję, że wam się spodoba. No i za chwilę przejdziemy do ostatniego tytułu, jaki nas interesował z konferencji, bo o tym zapomniałem wspomnieć. Omawiałem tylko 4 tytuły, które dla nas były po prostu ważne na konferencji Square Enix. I podobnie będzie z każdą chyba kolejną konferencją, też tak będziemy robić, że będziemy tylko wybrane tytuły, które nas interesują, bo żeby je wszystkie skowerować, a na przykład tytuły anime nas w ogóle...
Bo właśnie miałem mówić, że po prostu na całym metrze pokazane zostało dużo syfu według nas, tak więc no...
Tak więc no,
ani tego nie lubimy, ani nic
rzeczy.
o tym nie wiemy i w ogóle nie ma to sensu, żebyśmy to po prostu pokazywali.
Tak, do tego też zobaczcie trailer tego, co nas interesuje, czyli w tym przypadku Just Cause'a. Popatrzcie sobie na silnik Apex, jak ładnie wygląda. I za chwilę, tak jak mówię, przechodzimy do ostatniej gry, która zapowiada się ciekawie. W sumie jeszcze do końca nie wiem, co to będzie, ale miejmy nadzieję, że ciekawie będzie. Tak więc zobaczcie trailer Just Cause 4.
Welcome to Just Cause 4 and the return of Rico Rodriguez, a rogue agent on a mission that'll challenge everything and everyone he knows. Rico has arrived in the fictional South American country of Solis, the largest Welcome to Just Cause 4 and the return of Rico Rodriguez, a rogue agent on a mission that'll challenge everything and everyone he knows. Rico has arrived in the
Dobra, słuchajcie, przerywamy oglądanie Just Cause'a, dlatego że tutaj już za chwilę zaczynają panele o The Last of Us 2. Także chcielibyśmy jeszcze tylko na szybko powiedzieć o The Quiet Man.
Zapowiada się bardzo interesująco gra, spekulujemy o tym, że po prostu będzie o tym, że jesteśmy głusi i jak będziemy funkcjonować. W trailerze widzieliśmy gościa, który walczy z przestępczością, nie wiemy praktycznie nic w tej grze, poza tym, że chyba wychodzi w tym roku.
Dokładnie. I w trailer jest całkiem intrygujący, tak więc zobaczymy, co z tego będzie. I zobaczcie go, a za chwilę przechodzimy już do konferencji, do panelu o The Last of Us 2.
Yo! Wrong address, dog! No one ordered no chow! Way back there!
To share your stories, your challenges, your hopes, and your dreams. We're also working with key partners in the industry to set up women in gaming lean-in circles around the world so you can come together to support and empower one another to create real change. And we're starting Women in Gaming Stories Days, where we'll invite women to share what it's really like to work in the industry today. On behalf of everyone at Facebook, we're honored to take this journey with you as you continue to make a difference and inspire the next generation of gamers. Thank you.
Mikrofonu. Tym razem zapomniałem odciszyć mikrofon, tak więc wszystko co powiedzieliśmy jest zatajone i odczytać to z mowy ust, a teraz zapraszamy na panel o The Last of Us 2.
I'm just a girl, not a threat. Oh, Ellie. I think they should be terrified of you.
Symulator bólu.
Please welcome Lucy O'Brien.
Everyone. Welcome. I just want to thank you all so much for a closer look at The Last of Us Part 2. Now, obviously, we saw that incredible demo at Sony's showcase last night, but if you are anything like me, you want to sit Naughty Dog down and pick their brains until they are hollow husks for more details, and that is what we are going to do, hopefully, this morning. Now, I would love to introduce our guests from Naughty Dog, Neil Druckmann, writer and director. Welcome, Neil. And co-game directors Anthony Newman and Kurt Margenau. Welcome, welcome, guys. Now, how do you feel after last night?
Pretty incredible. The response was awesome. Really excited about it.
It's a big run-up to put this demo together with all these
Następna konferencja, która nie ogarnęła. Czy to jest jakaś klątwa Gersony, czy co?
Teams working very hard, so they have it out there. Like a bunch of Naughty Dogs came out to see it, and like with that church that Sony built for us.
The church was amazing.
It was a pretty incredible experience.
Does hungover count? Is how I feel.
Let's rewind a little bit. So The Last of Us Part 2 was first announced PSX 2016.
That sounds right.
That sounds right. And then obviously we got that amazing cinematic at Paris Games Week last year, which was basically showing off the brutality of this world. And then last night we got our first look at gameplay. So, I mean, what did you want to convey to the audience with the demo you showed last night? What was your primary sort of message there?
Well, first we really obviously wanted to show off the new things that we're doing with gameplay. So we have like a ton of new mechanics that we're super excited about in terms of traversal, like jumping over gaps and squeezing through shelves and stuff, the new prone moveset that Ellie has, all the new melee features that we have. But in addition, I think what we're trying to do with
Miałem wrażenie jakieś dziwne dźwięki. Myślałem, że coś mam jeszcze włączone, dlatego na chwilę musiałem zaltopować. W każdym razie nie wiem o co chodzi. To chyba coś na samym streamie jakieś. Ktoś nie wyłączył jakichś mikroportów czy coś.
Puzzle. So the enemies that Ellie's facing in this demo are the same enemies that you saw in the Paris trailer and stuff. So there's kind of a connection that's running through everything.
And, let's talk about gameplay, because this is what we saw last night. What's been your primary philosophy behind gameplay in the sequel?
I mean, it's about tension. Like, that's what The Last of Us is. So when we are thinking to expand on, the great core set of mechanics that The Last of Us had, we're thinking about how do we make Ellie feel like she's more connected with the environment, being able to squeeze under things, being able to squeeze through things, and just interacting with the environment in a way that feels more realistic, more human, more like when you see grass, I can hide in it, kind of. And with the AI, with the way that the AI kind of redid the searching and the way they talk to each other, call each other by name, just bringing up the level of fidelity and realism so that the enemies don't just feel like video game enemies, they're like real people that communicate.
Yeah, and the greater the threat is, and by advancing the AI the way we have, and making them human, the way like they reference each other by name, as you see in the demo, that's like a new tech that we developed for this game. We're increasing the desperation and the obsession that Ellie has to pursue this goal. So all the systems are working in concert to put you in alignment with Ellie on this kind of what we're hoping is going to be a very, very intense journey.
Now, we played as Ellie a little bit in the original. Then we played as her a lot in Left Behind. Are we basically going to see the sort of similar gameplay as Left Behind? Is it going to feel like Left Behind, or are you tailoring it even further?
We're expanding things a lot. So one thing that's like really been driving us is we get inspired by sequels that kind of don't play it safe, that take risks with the mechanics and really
reference each other by name, as you see
in Left Behind. Are we basically going to see the sort of similar gameplay as Left Behind? Is it going to feel like Left Behind, or are you tailoring it even further?
We're expanding things a lot. So one thing that's like really picked up a lot of new tricks in the 5 years since The Last of Us Part 1. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really new experience for people. There's going to be a lot more options for them as they play this new Ellie.
Yeah, I think we've done in Left Behind is we had 2 timelines that we were playing with and kind of jumping back and forth, and that's something that is an intriguing way to tell a story. And at least in this demo, you're seeing 2 times and where the story takes place, and maybe that expands further.
So cryptic, Neil, as always. Let's talk about combat. How has combat evolved since the original?
A lot of people noticed in the demo online, I saw where it's like, oh, look, can you dodge? So yeah, you can dodge. That is like a core part of the melee now. So it's like part of the goal was to have deeper engagements with enemies, being able to fight two on one or multiple enemies at the same time, and having that extra ability to move and react and all these contextual dodges and animations and planting off of surfaces and attacking and like, yeah, great finishers. I'm sure you could speak to the melee designer on Last of Us 1, Anthony Newman.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said it all already, but I think in terms of combat in general, we're looking for a lot more options for the player. Like, when you feel like you're kind of really in this situation with these like very realistic humans hunting you down that you have to overcome, I think it puts you like in Ellie's place and makes you feel this tension. And our goal is to kind of create a lot of opportunities for creative play, for taking down these enemies of like, oh, could I potentially hide under this car? What's that going to get me? And you kind of are able to create these like kind of emergent moments of interplay between your own abilities.
Tego właśnie jesteśmy ciekawi w sumie, jak to, ja przynajmniej jestem ciekaw, jak będzie z tym oskryptowaniem tego właśnie, na przykład z tym wejściem pod samochód, bo to było całkiem ciekawe na tym gameplayu. A jeśli chodzi o linka, bo nie wiem, czy to naprawdę wbili ludzie. If you want a link for this, then I will post in chat. It's hosted by Elysium? Nie, Coliseum, przepraszam.
How thick the grass is. Likewise, we now have a jump button. So just having like first Last of Us didn't have a jump. Now we have a jump, so we can get much more vertical.
Hello everyone.
So the combat becomes much more dynamic, which leads into Ellie being, you know, she's smaller than Joel. She's not as physically opposing. So she needs all these different ways to overcome her opposition in ways that he couldn't.
So we're going to see less ladders this time around. Now we've got a jump button, or.
Can't comment on the ladder situation.
No comment on ladders. Or pallets.
You know, we've mentioned tension. Obviously, The Last of Us kind of felt at times like a survival horror game because of the scarcity of resources. Is that gonna be a returning feature where you
This link should work. If not, then check E3 Coliseum live stream. I don't know if they streaming elsewhere, but it should be this link because I just copied it from here.
About crafting and how we evolve it for the next game. We didn't want to just like add a million things to craft.
And by the way, we won't do this show in English. It's only a moment for you to understand.
So
yeah.
We wanted to have more of those choices and kind of expand where it made sense. So yeah, we have like different ammo types for the arrow, for example. The exploding arrow is a new feature. So yeah, that's kind of our philosophy with the crafting.
In terms of tension, I think the kind of catchphrase we always would use with The Last of Us, which I think is accurate, is survival action. And I think what's really cool about the formula of the game is these moments of like extreme foreboding and tension that kind of explode into action, like the 2 versus 1 melee, where it's like, oh, it's really crazy for a second, and then you get overwhelmed, then you hide again. So it's kind of this cocktail of like pretty intense frenetic action. I think like being able to jump and like squeeze through stuff and the dodge, like all of that stuff adds to kind of that frenetic moment. And then the prone and all the stealth options kind of add to the tension moment.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about stealth. Tell me what we should expect from sort of traversal through this world.
Basically, obviously, like we've been mentioning, Ellie's got a bunch of new traversal options that neither she nor Joel had in the first game. So one thing, again, like all these things sound small, but when you actually play these setups, like it's amazing the options that it gives you. So being able to squeeze through tight gaps and kind of get quick flanks on your opponents, it's such a cool option to be able to kind of integrate into your combat experience. And obviously, prone's another big thing. So hiding in crawl spaces, we have this incredibly lush and like beautiful naturalistic world. So being able to integrate the vegetation into hiding from your enemies and kind of keeping to the shadows and stuff, it's again a really cool option to have for the player.
And you know, Naughty Dog has a lot of experience. We learned a lot over the years making Uncharted. So just the fidelity of animation and what the animation team, which is so incredible, is able to achieve in this game. We completely
Tak, to jest prawda. Animacje Naughty Doga są zajebiste.
Od lat, prawda?
Od lat i to wygląda zajebiście po prostu.
Naughty Dog quality.
Do all these things. We're talking about traversal, jump, running, all these things, and having it hopefully if you see the demo, you feel like it's just so seamless, and that is such a big part of the way we make our games, that it never feels like a game. It just feels like I'm running and jumping over a thing, and that's how a person would do it.
And that's for Ellie and the enemies you face. They're using this animation system as well, so you're not seeing transitions from state to state. You're seeing someone that feels more like a human, and they come in and they check with each other and they move around more like real people, which again raises the threat for you.
Let's talk about this lush environment, which we saw a little bit of last night. When we talk about scope, what are we talking about? Like, how big is this game? How big are these landscapes?
How big is
I
this
know
game?
you love this game.
Pretty big.
It's a really big game, and it's looking like it might be one of our biggest, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely, we did not really check our ambition too much with this title. It's still very much a linear story. That's like kind of crucial to the kind of storytelling we're after with this game. But I think you can see in the demo, just like when you look at just geographically the options that are in front of the player. I mean, the way the demo works is, it's just one possible playthrough through this pretty vast space. So with The Last of Us 1, kind of again, our catchphrase was wide linear, and we're pushing that even more this time.
Coś, co widzieliśmy już w Uncharted 4 rozwinięte, czyli te półotwarte światy, które jakby nie mają jakoś dużo kontentu, jakieś najwyżej znajdźki, ale ciekawe jest to, że jest więcej niż jedno podejście do celu. To jest
tak, prawda. Taki semi-otwarty świat, tak to myślę.
Tak, taki semi-otwarty świat, który nie ma jakiegoś większego celu, ale fajnie, że jest.
Zdecydowanie.
To feel like it could have combat in it, and that there's always a threat somewhere. So that again, that seamlessness kind of transitions into our layout philosophy as well, where you kind of have a bunch of options and different ways to escape and things.
Now, I'm making big assumptions here, but from the gameplay demo I saw last night, it felt like the AI was a lot smarter. I mean, like Ellie being noticed under the car, for example, was terrifying to me, because in my video game brain, I'm like, that's a safe space. So how... No, it's not.
Bardzo dobrze, że ona powiedziała. Mnie to też właśnie się zastanawiam, jak bardzo to było skryptowane, ale jeżeli oni mówią, że to nie jest w ogóle oskryptowane i ja się tak będzie zachowywać, to kurczę, to będzie wow.
Probably like technical, not that interesting to talk about, but we're definitely pursuing a lot of communication between the AI. So in the first game, there were a lot of situations where as soon as one enemy spotted you, they kind of had this like, telepathic awareness and kind of everybody kind of knew where you were. So one thing you can see in the demo is that when they discover the body in the forest, the first person that you kill, like there's like kind of this awareness that like ripples out, like they use this system of whistling to kind of communicate with each other, and gradually like more and more people know about your location. And when the reinforcements arrive, that the ill-fated Ethan, you see this kind of like moment of communication as they sync up with each other, and that's something we're definitely pursuing, is kind of like this knowledge propagation of like this group knows about you, this group doesn't, and a real communication between those people.
Yeah, systemic check-ins to get information, and just also just the way that the most important state of the AI for, in my mind, for this game is the search and how they search an environment, and there was such a big investment of tech in The Last of Us 1, and we've again just kind of rethinking that whole thing, and just how do we get, adding the ability to check underneath. We now have prone, so the AI has to expand to accommodate for prone, so they have to know to like look under stuff and like pull you out and engage you. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that just all these new mechanics that we've added, the AI has to account for. We can't just like flip switch and it works. So it's a lot of work, and it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, very much so. Enemy types. So we saw last night humans. Are we going to see the infected as well? Is this world still infected? Are they still a threat?
Is there still infected in the game?
Very much so. And actually, we're expanding the infected gameplay space quite a bit as well. Can we say this?
W sumie z tego co pamiętam, to wczoraj nic takiego nie pokazali. Nie było w ogóle tych klikaczy i tak dalej.
Tak, prawda.
We can't just willy-nilly act. Like everything we're doing is we're trying to keep the world grounded and believable. It all make logical sense, and we feel like that's how we can best immerse the player in this journey. But yes, very much the infected are a real threat, not only to Ellie, but to all these other factions that Ellie faces against.
Okay, well, let's talk about crafting.
Sure.
What's new with crafting?
Well, probably like the biggest single new feature is to be able to craft ammo. In the first game, you were able to upgrade your melee weapons, and in this game, you're able to craft different arrow types as well. So we saw Ellie use the bomb arrow to great effect.
That was sick, by the way. That was my favorite part of the demo.
And just in general, as Kurt was mentioning before, like we're looking to push everything, to take everything to the next level. But with each new crafting item that we add, we're looking to fill a pretty distinct gameplay niche. So Last of Us is in a world with a lot of RPGs, a lot of grenade launchers, so we needed kind of something that was a long-range splash damage mechanic, and so that kind of is what suggested the explosive arrow. So every kind of new element we add, like we're really focused on having a lot of elegance, having few mechanics that deliver like a lot of options that really increase the dimensionality of the gameplay space.
It's a really important point is like when we first start the project, we make this huge list of like, here are all the crazy things Ellie can craft. And then actually now a lot of the work is stripping stuff away, combining items, like how do we make it as simple and digestible as possible so you can on the fly quickly make choices and you're not just inundated with like the long list of things to choose from.
The huge menu and stuff, yeah.
Okay, well, we've got a limited amount of time, so I want to start on story. Where do we open in The Last of Us Part 2? We ended in Jackson. Where is she when we open?
Oh, where the game opens?
Yeah. Where's she at?
Well, let's just say where the demo opens. The game opens maybe somewhere different.
Wątpię, że powiedział cokolwiek konkretnego o fabule, bo tego się raczej nie robi przed premierą, także...
At the end of the first game, that's where we are now 4 years later, if my math is right. And we see that now Ellie is part of this community. She's part of these patrols to keep Jackson safe. And she has this relationship with Dina and her friend Jesse.
Okay, so who is this? Tell me about this new faction. I've got a word written down here. Seraphites. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Seraphites. So that's the religious group we showed off at the Paris cutscene, the hanging cutscene, and that's the same group that Ellie faces against in Seattle.
Right. So they're the bad guys.
Right. So they are, well, bad guys, good guys. It's all relative in the world of The Last of Us. We really try to humanize everybody, to say everybody has a real objective. They're trying to keep themselves safe. How do we humanize them? Right now you're seeing one aspect of them, so they might come off as, okay, these are the bad, cultish people. But there's a lot more dimension and complexity to them that you'll explore when you play the final game.
Okay, so tell me more about this community that Ellie is part of. What's her life in Jackson like?
It's kind of normal. She gets to, they go to a festival, they have electricity, you get to have friends, you get to party, they sometimes watch movies, and then bad shit goes down.
Is that that's where we're going to end that? I mean, the big question on everyone's lips is Joel, right? So he's missing, but he's mentioned. He's called Ellie's old man. So where is Joel at this point in time?
It's called suspense, Lucy.
Well, first of all, you're assuming they're talking about Joel. It could be some other father figure that came in the 4 years. It's Joel. It's Joel. We're talking about Joel. It's Joel. So he's somewhere there in Jackson. Yeah, he's somewhere out there.
Okay, so he's somewhere out there. That's all we're gonna get.
That's all you're gonna get.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Let's move on to new characters then. So last night we were introduced to Jesse and Dina. Who are they, and what kind of a role do they play in Ellie's life?
So they're all part of this. Like everyone in Jackson has a role. These three characters. How they contribute to the community. They go on these patrols outside of town to make sure there are no infected coming in, no other marauders. Jesse is kind of the leader of this group, so you hear that Joel's kind of harassing him about making sure he's safe whenever Ellie goes out. And as soon as, I don't know if I'm revealing too much, whatever. As soon as Ellie and Joel settled in Jackson, Ellie and Dina have hit it off. And at the time, Dina was girlfriends with Jesse, but they've been best friends ever since until this night.
Right.
At the demo.
Okay, well, I actually think...
Aha, dobra, czyli wcześniej był przepsiły.
Ale kurwa, left behind all over again.
To nieźle.
And really, who better to talk about them than the actors who play them? So I'd just love to hear a big round of applause for Shannon Woodward, who plays Dina, and Ashley Johnson, who is our Ellie. Woo! Welcome. It is so good to see you guys here.
It's good to be here. Hi, everybody.
Now, how did you both feel after last night?
Excited? Yeah, excited, and of course, before, nervous. You know, just.
It's a good thing you're not nervous now. It's a good thing.
What?
It's a good thing you're not nervous now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we've been keeping it under wraps for so long. It was like I felt like I had like Stockholm syndrome. Even after the feed went, I was like, wait, am I allowed to say that I'm in the game still? And they were like, yes. I was like, but are you sure? So yeah, really excited.
Ashley, Ellie's been through a lot since you first started playing her. When did you first when did you first start as Ellie? Was that like 2011 or?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
2010?
Yeah.
I think maybe 2010.
I think it was 2010.
Yeah.
Which is when I first auditioned for the part.
Right.
And then, so I've been in this character's shoes for a long time now. So she's very near and dear.
So you saw her fighting last night, and it was pretty vicious. Like, I think we can all agree. Like, for me, I was like, oh my God, these poor NPCs, like, they're really suffering. How did you feel sort of watching that combat and seeing how evolved she's become as a fighter?
Yeah, that was something that we've been talking about and was sort of a, I don't want to say a concern, but something, that I was, to have a young female sort of doing all of the combat, you want to make it believable, and I think they did such a fantastic job with it where, figuring out, with range weapons, and it's exciting to me, and I think they sort of figured out a perfect balance of how Ellie would fight and being her size, and she's extremely capable, and I think that's pretty badass.
Shannon, tell us about how you came aboard this project.
Well, it was really desperate. Oh, you laugh now. So Hallie Gross, who works on the game with Neil, actually wrote on Westworld the first season, and so we were friendly. And we were at like a social event of some kind at some point when we were on hiatus, and I was like, what are you up to? And she's like, oh, I'm actually, I'm writing at Naughty Dog. I was like, the video game company? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, what are you doing at Naughty Dog, writing the Schmastabus Schmoo? And they hadn't announced the game yet. And she was like, no, I'm not allowed to talk about it. And I was like, oh my God, you are? It's okay, I won't tell anybody. That's awesome. And I was like, that's my favorite game. I'm obsessed with it. And I like made a joke about like how I would like die to have a line in the game, and she was like, "Oh, I'll tell Neil." And I was like, "Oh, okay, but you don't have to. I just like I'm a big fan." And it kind of like went back and forth, and like 6 months later, she eventually was like, "Well, there's a role, but you'd have to audition." And I was like, "I act like every day. I'm not afraid of that." And then I auditioned a couple times, and then I ended up here, and I'm still very excited about it.
I told when. Yeah, Hallie came up to me and said, yeah, this actress, Shannon, she's like a fan of the game. Can she come to audition? I'm like, oh, sure, yeah, we'll check it out. And it was like the worst audition day because the electricity went out, so we had to like rehearse in the kitchen. All the milk is spoiling, so it just stinks. There's helicopters outside. Ashley was unavailable.
And I was like 40 minutes
We brought
late.
in like
car went off the freeway.
We brought in Laura Bailey to read as Ellie for the scene. And after, it's this really emotional scene, and after we were done, I just looked at Hallie, I was like, what the hell? Like, that was one of the best auditions I've ever seen.
Yes.
And I was like,
Thanks, guys.
you know what? Just to torture her, let's bring her in for round 2. And then she did another set of scenes with Ashley just to make sure they had the chemistry, and it's really awesome to see these two together. They have a ton of chemistry.
So it wasn't the spoiled milk that made her act so well? That was like...
I think we're just trying to get out of it. Just sign her, like...
Added a lot of tension. Yeah, it was, we got to, in the second round, we got to audition together, and...
She already had the job, to be fair.
Well, who knows? Yeah. And she was so just fantastic. Like, so many amazing actors came in, but we definitely did have chemistry from the get-go, and she's just challenges me to be a better actor, and it was just like, it was awesome. Yeah, I'm stoked.
So sweet.
Yeah.
It was so fun. I was just like, even if they don't hire me, they're going to let me pretend to be in this for like 25 minutes, and I'm going to really go for it. Because, you know, sometimes you get to read for really cool things, and like that's the thing you have to just enjoy. Is like, somebody is going to let me do this, and they're going to watch me do it for like 15 minutes, even if I bomb. Great story if you do. I'm very glad it didn't go that way for me this time.
Well, Shannon, a lot of people know you, most people know you as Elsie from Westworld. What's the fan reaction been like for you?
I don't know. I don't leave my house much. You have to ask them. What do you guys? You guys liking it? Thanks. They seem excited.
Sounds like it's been very positive. All right, I want to talk about that. Let's talk about that scene. I mean, you guys talk about chemistry. There was a lot of chemistry in that scene last night. Now, where does this scene take place? It's in a church. Where is it? Where are we?
Yeah, so we're in Jackson. They have these events. They have parties. This is one of those situations where they have they're having this town celebration. People can come in, relax, eat, dance, and that's where these two dance.
Okay, tell me about shooting this scene.
First of all, I did really do that dance at the beginning.
That is true.
Several days of rehearsal.
One of the first things that Shannon had to do, we brought her in with a dance choreographer and learned this whole crazy routine. It was like a 3-minute thing, and we used 5 seconds of it.
I was exhausted every time. It was running in circles and anyway. So yeah. Then there's
no, it's because in the scene there are dozens of characters, but we can only do, I forget the number. It's 8 or 9 characters at a time. So we had to have this whole dance troupe that came in. We had to shoot a chunk. Okay, there's going to be this corner, and then we're going to shoot another chunk of this corner, and another chunk of this corner. Then a separate day we brought in people with kids and kids running around. We had to shoot that. Then another day we brought our actors in to shoot the dramatic stuff. So and then to stitch it all together to make it seem seamless and full and full of life.
Do tego się nie spodziewałem, że każda tam postać jest oddzielnie animowana motion capture, to kurde dużo musieli się na tym narobić.
No panie, jeszcze to kurde nie wyjdzie pewnie przez 3 lata, to wiesz.
I mentioned this to a lot of people last night. It was the first video game kiss I think I've ever seen where I haven't gone, oh, that's a little bit weird, it's a little bit uncanny valley, I'm a little bit weirded out by it all. It just seemed really, really natural. It felt really natural, it looked really natural.
We were actually just talking about what was it, Crafty?
Yeah.
She was like, we're out of mac and cheese. And I was like, no.
I mean, let's talk about the performance capture techniques that you're using this time around.
Yeah, so we have facial capture this time around. It's a more advanced version of what we had even on Uncharted 4, more complicated rigs for faces. But the problem you have when you have an intimate scene like this is you have these cameras in front of you, so 2 actors can get close.
It is so awkward.
We'll get to the awkward part.
Okay,
we'll get to the awkward part.
Okay.
So first when we're going to shoot this scene, we're like, okay, let's just get the most natural performance we can, as much as you can in a white room that looks like an insane asylum when you're wearing these crazy suits.
No właśnie, chciałem się zapytać o te kamery, jak oni te facial animation zrobili, jeżeli nie mogli mieć kamer z przodu. No i właśnie o tym mówią.
Animators at Naughty Dog. So we shot it that way. They kiss. We did a few takes. And, that's a little awkward. And then we're like, okay, but our animators like something to start with. Can we get some performance on the face? So let's put the cameras back on. And then they have to get really close and then turn to the side and pretend to kiss each other, even though they're just kissing the air. And they love that part.
Oh, yeah. It's our favorite part. We try to put our cheeks so they touch, so it felt kind of intimacy. We were just and I'm like, don't look, do not look.
a little awkward.
Did you make the noises? I just want to know if you made the
No,
noises.
it's sort of one of those things too when you get close because they're both in the same position for both people. So sometimes you're trying to stay in the moment, and it's like clank, 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 clank.
Yeah, they click.
And then you kind of have to like unhook and then sort of rearrange
then your
the
cables
camera.
get tangled. These suits have Velcro. They get stuck to each other.
Yeah, my hands kept getting. They wrapped them because they kept getting stuck on her.
That's right.
This is easily the most intense and also hysterical still from anything I've ever seen. It just really has so much duality. Yeah, there was a lot of sticking, and we'd be in the middle of it, and I'd be like, I'm stuck. Do we have to start again? Or?
And they gave an amazing performance, but I also have to give a lot of credit to our animators that have kind of set with that reference footage and had to touch things, and like our riggers have to develop whole new tech for the face, and you see like the way Ellie nose squishes and the cheeks move against each other. That's all tech that we didn't have before, just to be able to create a scene like that.
I mean, I did notice that Ellie does look a little bit more like Ashley this time around, and obviously that was on purpose. And tell me about how you've evolved that look.
So we have one of our lead character modelers. She did a pass on taking Ellie from the first game and then aging her up. And then at the same time, we created a digital double for Ashley, just so we can really get as close of a performance as we can to what Ashley does. And then we did a blend where we took, I think, 40% of Ashley's face with this model that was crafted from scratch. And that's the Ellie we've ended up with. So we're saying as she's aging, we're taking more of like Ashley's characteristics, and that gives us a much more natural, nuanced performance.
How does that feel for you?
It's it's weird. It's weird watching it because I think it's my lips and stuff, and so whenever I watch it, I feel like covering part of my face because I don't know. It's weird. I mean, it's really cool. I think they've done such a beautiful job with it. I mean, the skin and it looks so beautiful. I'm not like complimenting myself. I'm like, I don't mean that.
You can compliment yourself.
60%.
I don't mean that. Yeah. The 60% is on point.
But yeah, the tech that has gone into the characters is absolutely extraordinary. Where like we had this like incredibly technical programmer, like one of our top minds at the studio, who spent months redoing our eyeballs, and now like the eyeballs are fully refractive. They have like internal reflections that get that like kind of sparkle in the eye and stuff. So all of this stuff that is like very subtle but really creates this nuanced, natural appearance, and it's a lot of tech. It's like the synergy. It's the cocktail of the tech and the performance.
I don't think we could have picked a harder scene to do with like this highly detailed characters with hair and like bokeh blurred out lights behind it that like highlights from behind, and just like the hardest thing to do in a video game is like transparent hair with.
This is super nerdy, but like sorting things that have alpha mask is really difficult, and trying to do it with like Dina especially has all these like curly hair and flyaways, which I'm familiar with, Frizz. It's really hard to render, but our team of really talented people pulled it off.
All right, of course I have to ask because I think I'll be murdered and I know the answer. What's the release date?
No. No takiego, to poczekamy za 2 lata.
So we're going to disappoint people. We've learned our lesson. We're not going to say the release date until we're very close to release.
Ktoś tu się uczy od CD Projektu chyba.
Yeah.
Fair. Look, finally, I just want to thank you all so much. And I also just want to thank you on behalf of the LGBTQ community as well for actually being so bold and putting that out there on the E3 stage. I thought was one of the bravest things I've ever seen. And yeah, I'm getting a bit choked up just talking about it. So thank you. And yeah, we're really, really excited to see what you're going to bring out next. That's it. That's all we've got time for. Thank you so much, everyone. Neil, Anthony, Kurt, Shannon, Ashley.
Thanks, guys.
No dobra, czyli jakby konferencja się już skończyła.
Absolute pleasure and thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you also.
Thank you also, very nice!
No,
This
nice.
game will be
Ciekawie,
very good.
fajnie, jednak te wywiady z twórcami są zajebiste. Ciekawych rzeczy. No chociażby to, jak oni nagrali tą scenę z tym
Tak.
całowaniem od strony technicznej.
Ja sobie wyobrażam tą scenę,
Ja też, no nie?
Nagrywać, nie?
Tak, z tymi kamerami z przodu.
I żebyś tak śmiechem nie wybuchnął w środku, nie?
Tak, to naprawdę. No i to są właśnie ciekawe rzeczy, które warto
To są
pokazywać.
właśnie te historie, które właśnie niewiele ludzi pozna, dlatego warto jest
Tak,
oglądać
warto jest oglądać takie kurcze, takie panele. Naprawdę one są spoko. W każdym razie do konferencji z Cyberpunkiem pozostało jeszcze chwilę, ale będziemy mieli teraz Assassin's Creed Origins. Zajebiście. Trafiliśmy idealnie w sumie. Teraz The Last of Us, wcześniej The Last of Us, teraz Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Także quality meme. Nie wiem, kto ma fajny wąs. Ogoliłeś się, nie ogoliłeś się. Dobra, no to już wiemy kto. Będzie Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
O kurde.
Trzeba też, nie? O kurde, trzeba się ogolić. Dobra, nieważne.
Przypał.
A później będzie Cyberpunk. I na to wszyscy oczywiście czekamy, także do Cyberpunka jeszcze chwilę. I do Assassina też jeszcze chwilę. Tutaj już się chyba zbierają ludzie, którzy mają o tym rozmawiać. Jestem ciekawy, o czym powiedzą. I tak by the way, jeszcze właśnie o tym LGBTQ. Nie wiem, czy tam jeszcze jakieś inne śmieszne literki są. To właśnie na temat tego jest dużo, bo i w Assassinie w sumie będą opcje romansowe z tą samą płcią. No i The Last of Us 2, tak, tutaj to prawda, to było dosyć odważne, bo pokazali to na początku konferencji, o ile dobrze pamiętam.
Na samym początku.
No i to było jakby jedna z pierwszych rzeczy, jakie było widać na tej konferencji. Także czekamy na Assassina. Nie wiem, jaki jest tytuł streama, muszę luknąć. Tytuł streama jest panel o Cyberpunku, dobra, czyli jeszcze czekamy na to. Na razie będzie Assassin's Creed. Ale tylko przez chwilę.
Kim jest Michał Maniczka?
Nie wiem, ale dobra, czyli pełnoprawne RPG, generalnie to jest jego ocena, tak?
Tak, to jest jego ocena, community ma wyżej, community ocenia na... czekaj, na tyle. Na 7,9 póki co.
Może być.
Ja się jeszcze bym podzielił ciekawostką o samym Cyberpunku, przy czym przeczytałem, że twórca książki Cyberpunk,
Mike Pondsmith,
wypowiedział się o trailerze do Cyberpunka. Powiedział, że jest wyśmienity, że idealnie jest dany materiał źródłowy.
No tak, bo o to właśnie w tym chodzi, ale jeszcze o trailerze Cyberpunka będziemy mówić, także o tym nie będziemy na razie dzisiaj poruszać kwestii. Dzisiaj będziemy tylko się słuchać, co mają oni może do powiedzenia sami twórcy, bo oni na pewno będą musieli się odnieść do reakcji ludzi. Przynajmniej tak mi się wydaje. A jeżeli nie bezpośrednio, może zostaną zapytani, przynajmniej mam taką nadzieję. Ja bym się osobiście zapytał, co oni jakby sądzą o reakcji widowni, co powiedzą o tym, że właśnie było tak kolorowo, było fajnie, a niekoniecznie tak jak w pierwszym trailerze, bo tak jak mówię, będziemy o tym jeszcze rozmawiać dokładniej przy analizie trailera Cyberpunka, ale po prostu przyjęcie tego trailera było słabe ze względu na to, że się wszyscy innego spodziewali. Jakby setup sam sobie jest trochę winny, ale tak jak mówię, o tym więcej będzie w analizie trailera. Na razie jeszcze czekamy i nie wiem, kiedy się zaczyna to Odyssey, chyba za 2 minuty z tego, co było napisane w opisie streamu, także jeszcze chwilę poczekamy. Tak jeszcze się staram przypomnieć sobie jakieś rzeczy, które tutaj powiedzieli, w sumie nie było tego zbyt dużo, tam trochę było o nowych mechanikach, właśnie jestem ciekawy, jak to będzie już w samej grze wyglądać, bo wiecie, oni teraz mogą o tym mówić, o AI, mogą mówić o tym, że właśnie na przykład dało się wejść pod samochód. I jeżeli naprawdę, być może to może być pierwsza gra, w której przeciwnicy będą w stanie spojrzeć do góry i pod coś, naprawdę.
Ale już nie na boki, jak widzieliśmy w trailerze.
Tak, może już nie na boki. Właśnie jestem ciekawy jestem, jak to wyjdzie te AI, bo to może być z jednej strony fajne, z drugiej strony nie fajne. No i też w sumie to, że mówią do siebie po imieniu, no to też jest jakaś tam innowacja troszeczkę.
Będzie prequel gry o Tron. Osadzony tysiące lat przed wydarzeniami z głównego serialu.
Gówno mnie obchodzi gra o Tron, wypierdalaj. Czekamy na Cyberpunka i czekamy na Assassina. Jestem ciekawy, bo jeszcze z tego co widziałem, bo ja miałem tego streama odpalonego, wcześniej był chyba Dying Light, dokładnie. Szkoda.
Przegapiliśmy jeszcze Spidermana.
Tak, i Spider-Man też był wcześniej. Być może to kiedyś nadrobimy, zobaczymy. Może teraz, bo będziemy na pewno mieli przerwę, podejrzewam, przed tym panelu, a na następnym.
Spidermana.
I możemy zobaczyć właśnie Spidermana i Dying Light, bo to też jestem ciekawy, kto też prezentował Dying Lighta i co ciekawego o tym powiedział, bo to też jednak polska gra polskiej firmy i też myślę, warto o niej posłuchać. Ale zobaczymy. Kiedy ten Assassin's Creed? I czy oni tutaj będą o tym rozmawiać? To jest dobre pytanie. Ci, którzy już tutaj są na scenie. Zaraz zobaczymy. No, chyba będziemy zaczynać, bo już tutaj przygotowują. I mamy też już 20:40, czyli powinni zaczynać, tak jest.
Hello everyone, welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of E3 2018. We are rolling through all these amazing demos. I'm Mike Mahardy, I'm going to be here all week with Lucy James. Hey! And if you're just joining us, we got to check out a couple games already, Dying Light 2 and Spider-Man, and now, something I'm excited for as well.
And
I'm Mike Mahardy, I'm going to be here all week with Lucy James. Hey! And if you're just joining us, we got to check out a couple games already, Dying Light 2 and Spider-Man, and now, something I'm excited for as well, we're going to check out Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We're here with Jonathan Dumont from the team.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey. Good. So you've shown Assassin's Creed twice now in press conferences. What's that? Ubisoft, and then, or maybe I'm just thinking of
No, we just showed it at the Ubisoft conference yesterday, and that with our big reveal of the game.
Yeah. So what's it like showing it off now?
Oh man, it was cool to be on the stage and represent what the team has been working on. We've been working on it for 3 years, really intensively, and man, it felt great to come out there and just show it to the world.
So this is the team that worked on Syndicate? And
it's similar. Most of the team is the team from Syndicate, but we, also have other studios that helps us around the world. 9 studios across the world that help us make these big, fantastic games.
So I'm sure we're about to dive into like nitty-gritty stuff with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'm curious. Obviously, there was a year off in the release cycle before Origins came out. What's it like? Was there any hesitation on the team's part on Ubisoft, or did you know right when Origins came out, you're like, we have our energy back, we're ready to start going yearly?
Well, we've been working on it for 3 years, so it was at the same time as Origins, so we knew what they were doing. Right. We were on board with what they were doing. It was an amazing game. Origins was great, and then the layer that we're putting on top of it is just like pushes it into a big RPG, pushing choice at the center of the experience, really taking you into a fabulous odyssey into ancient Greece. So ancient Greece being an amazing setting for Assassin's Creed. So
what made you choose ancient Greece?
We chose ancient Greece, yes. We chose it because, it is a wonderful cultural background, and we learned quite a bit about, philosophy, democracy, and all those things. And at the same time,
właśnie, ja też oglądałem jeden gameplay z Asyna i na Xboxie One X to wyglądało tak klatkowało po prostu, że masakra.
Wszystkie gameplaye takie są, prawie wszystkie.
No, pewnie wszystkie były na Xboxie.
We want you to conduct your own moral code in that game, so you choose to be good or bad, or compassionate, or a little bit of a douche at the same time, so you can do all of that.
So can you talk about how you're pushing really hard into RPG territory? You were just telling us before the show that you worked for 7 years on World of Warcraft.
Yes.
There's a lot of RPG influence. Origins slowly started to introduce that, but it sounds like Odyssey is just going all out on the RPG.
Yeah, so there's a base from Origin, but we're pushing it much further. So just the gear system. The gear system is you have 5 pieces of gear you can assemble. They all have stats depending on what your specialization that you want to do. Over top of that, we can engrave special abilities on top of those weapons and gear slots. And we have put on top of the combat a totally new way of customizing your playstyle. So you map your own abilities to create your own fight playstyle or stealth playstyle or marksman playstyle. And the other thing that we did put in is dialogue. So your journey is based on your choices, and yes, you'll get an epic, tragic, big story, and then you'll make choices that will give you different endings and different relationships with characters as well.
What I like is that it's not explicit. You don't really know the consequences of your choices immediately, and some of the gameplay stuff I've been watching is it can feed back way later when you're not expecting it.
Sometimes.
Ciekawe, czy to jest problem konferencji, czy to jest naprawdę taki in-game, bo wygląda okropnie ten gameplay, co jest w tle.
Get a sword, and you find the sword, and you come back and say, "Did you find the sword?" And say, you can have the lie options. No, we didn't find it, and then you keep it for yourself.
Right.
There could be an immediate consequence for that, or you give it back and then you get a big reward, or the medium term, putting in. Not points, but stake into relationships and see where those goes, and then big impacts to the end of the games, which I won't spoil here.
So what were some games you looked at for that kind of inspiration? I mean, obviously that's been a pillar of RPGs since RPGs were a thing, but our friend Michael, when he went up to play the game, he came back saying, it reminded me of The Witcher in the way that Lucy was describing, almost like these unforeseen consequences that will just pop up later when you're least expecting it. I don't know, did you look at The Witcher, or what kind of RPGs, recent RPGs did you...
We played a bunch of games because we're game fans like everybody, so we get inspired by everything. There's not one specific game that we looked at and said, we want to do that. We wanted to do our own
Bo wcale te chociażby menu wyborów nie wygląda jak w Wiedźminie.
The players with choices, but have a fun, experience, just like, giving them tough choices, things to think about, and then the consequences can surprise you, or you can anticipate them. So that's really what we wanted to do.
I'm also curious how Origins was, like the earliest in the chronology last year when it released, but Odyssey is going before that.
We are.
So people are curious, like maybe this is telling the Templar origin story, or how are you like making an Assassin's Creed game if it's supposedly before the Assassin's Origins?
The thing is, our franchise has many things to explore. The first thing is history, right? History has always been something that we take care of and really research when we're doing our games. The other levers we have is the continuation of a present-day story, so it is a continuation of Origins in the present day. And our brand has First Civilization, which are explanations through the gods and stuff like that, and we really tapped into that for our game. So we don't have Templar necessarily and Assassins, but we do have that at the foundation, that battle between chaos and order, or freedom and order. That is at the heart of the game as well. And reflecting on Greece. People question everything. Socrates is a little bit of pain in the ass as well in the game. So putting that into that, I want to think about this order and chaos for myself and sort of steer it where you want to go. So it is a perfect...
ciekawie, trochę wymijająco mam wrażenie, jest to odpowiednio skonstruowane.
Ja też jestem ciekawy właśnie, jak bardzo będzie rozwinięta ta pierwsza cywilizacja, bo tego nie było bardzo rozwinięte w
Słyszałem, że właśnie będzie
grach.
dużo bardziej niż w Origins.
No i to może być ciekawe właśnie, bo ja się zastanawiam, jak duża asyna będzie w tym asynie, no i w sumie to chyba będzie jedna rzecz, która to połączy, tak, z uniwersum asyna.
It allows us to not just have like 4 or 5 hours of cinematic, but go for 30 hours of interactive dialogue. So you can have deep dives with Socrates, Pericles, Hippocrates, the founder of medicine. So modern medicine existed, but found. So it allows you to really have relationships with those characters that you couldn't do before.
Right.
So we can spend a lot more time. There are other historical characters. There's a few surprises that I'm not going to talk about because you're going to say, whoa, that's really cool. But really thinking about what is classical Greece, ancient Greece.
Ja nie rozumiem, o co ci chodzi w ogóle.
Wszędzie jest dobrze, tylko nie kiedy biegasz, ona jest za wysoko, jest za daleko.
Właśnie, jest bardzo dobrze, dużo więcej widać przynajmniej. Ja podejrzewam, że to może być troszeczkę spowodowane tym, że tutaj będą duże walki, to było widać na innym gameplayu, że tam była walka na chyba 150.
Jest dobrze, identycznie jak w Origins, właśnie walka ma identyczną kamerę, tylko free roaming jest inny. Kamera jest inna.
Mi tam się podoba.
Mam nadzieję, że będą opcje customizacji tej kamery, bo będzie źle, przynajmniej dla mnie.
Right, so it has the similar things as Black Flag in the sense that you can upgrade your ship, you can customize your ship, but it is Greek warfare, so ramming, cleaving, shooting arrows, fires, torches. You can also assault board, and then the biggest difference with us is that your crew, you can be recruited through the world. Pretty much everybody in the game is recruitable. So you can customize your crew by, that guy's super strong, and you sneak up and then you put him down.
To jest ciekawe, co Mszczylo powiedział, że praktycznie każdego w tym świecie można zrekrutować do swojej załogi. On miał na myśli tylko główne postacie, czy...
Nie, tutaj chodzi o to, że właśnie każdego takiego bączka, na przykład takiego, możesz sobie powalić i go na przykład zwerbować do swojej załogi.
Ale strażnika, nie chodzi o zwykłych NPC-ów, mieszkańców wysp.
Nie, o właśnie takich walecznych mieszkańców wysp.
Aha, dobra, okej.
I główne postacie, miałem wrażenie, że side questów też postaci będą jak najbardziej do zwerbowania, to jest jedna rzecz, której oczekuję.
To by miało sens na pewno.
Z pewnie główny wątek nie będzie miał aż takiego dużego impaktu na ten aspekt, ale zobaczymy jeszcze.
Like just make your own adventure with them. Yeah. So they do have a personality, they're Spartan, they're tough and everything, but the approach is different because we want to, if there's questions, we want the player to answer those questions through their character. So it's really a different way of writing. We staffed up our big team of writers and we iterated on it so that we do get a good feeling about it. But it's really making, when you do have a decision to make, setting it up in the writing, sometimes it's tough, but it's really an art to now make a choice. But also with having the choices with Adexos and Cassandra, we wanted them to be able to express themselves as lying, romance option as well, so that you write those things, and if the characters, the players are interested, they can dive into that as well. So.
I was going to say, let's talk a little bit about romance options, because that's brand new and very exciting. So what's it going to be like? Is it going to be immediately apparent which characters you can and can't romance? What are the branches going to be like? Is there like a definitive relationship status that you get into?
No, it's more of a handful of romanceable characters. Right. So you'll figure it out, fairly quickly when you say, okay, that person is.
They were flirting with me. I got it.
And then like some relationships are short term, just like real life, and then some are a little bit medium term. So it's much more of a fun adventure, and then you never know what you're going to find on an island in a region, so you're going to find people that are interested in you, and then it's up to you to decide.
What were some of the core pillars that you went into Odyssey? Like, Assassin's Creed obviously is a long-running franchise since, 2007, 2006? It's escaping me right now, but what were some of the pillars of Assassin's Creed you knew you wanted to keep intact, outside of like bringing it into RPG territory?
Intact, well, there's quite a bit. If you played Origin, you're going to see that we still have stealth, and we, really put a lot of stuff on stealth, new abilities on stealth, and refine some of the mechanics. We like the long range that was established in Origin as well. The combat is the base combat that we put a lot on top, but you can recognize those pillars. Navigation, of course, and then if you take a look at what we've done with Naval, you can feel that experience through Naval as well. History has always been at the core of our game, and it keeps coming at the core of our game, probably like never before, because you can interact with it in a different way.
And this takes place during the Peloponnesian War, if I'm not mistaken?
I'm sorry?
This takes place during the Peloponnesian War?
During the Peloponnesian War, absolutely. The best of culture and the best of war put together. So Spartans versus Athenians, all over Greece. The Peloponnesian War is interesting because every city-state was aligning with Sparta or Athens. So we have a whole world system where resources go down, the state gets vulnerable, and then it gets overtaken by a neighboring state. Right. And then it produces big battles, which needs mercenary like you to make a difference and be a hero on
Właśnie, bo też z tego gameplayu. Tam były jakieś statystyki dla danej wyspy, danego państwa miasta. I jestem ciekaw właśnie, jak to będzie z tą wojną, bo coś czuję, że będziemy mieli na to duży wpływ, ale pytanie jak duży, bo to jest jednak historia, której nie zmienimy. I tego jestem ciekaw właśnie, o co chodzi z tym całym, że możemy chyba wspomagać albo jedną, albo drugą stronę. Chyba będzie taki wybór, przynajmniej jak ja rozumiem.
Nie jestem pewien, ja myślę, że jednak będziemy mogli się tylko spróbować ze Spartą, ale zobaczymy.
Właśnie też tego jestem ciekawy, czy będzie można jakby się odwrócić od Sparty i pomóc Atenom.
Możliwe, to jest bardzo możliwe, ale póki co gameplay, wszystkie materiały promocyjne wskazują na to, że Sparta to jest właśnie nasz sojusznik, a Ateny to nasz przeciwnik.
Tak, tylko jeszcze pytanie, bo kto wygrał wojny peloponeskie? Bo kurczę, nie pamiętam. I to by mogło stanowić odpowiedź na to pytanie. Tak?
Kurwa, szóstka z historii robi swoje. Nie pamiętam.
How is it different?
Yeah.
Well, pretty much it's a action-packed.
Sparta to też Grecja.
Chodzi mi, że w tej wojnie że nie ta spartańska strona, tylko to właśnie ta druga.
Ateńska.
Board them. So boarding has rewards, like there's chests on the ships. You can board. The better you recruited, they jump on the thing as well, and then you Sparta kick everybody in the water, and they get eaten by sharks. So it's pretty spectacular. And then the world is at war as well on the ocean, so you can see Athenians and Spartans, going at it, and you can, all right, I'm leaving those guys alone, or you just, get an opportunity to go and help them out.
Obviously, you must be playtesting the hell out of this game. I imagine the Spartan kick never gets old.
It never gets old, and there are quite a bit of abilities that have that satisfactory thing. We have on the team, we have contests on how many people we can Sparta kick off a wall in a minute or something like that. It is the abilities that you get at the start are reined in a little bit, and as the game grows, you can upgrade those abilities to be much more.
No to jeżeli Kamienny mówi, że Spartanie wygrali wojnę peloponeskie, to w takim razie raczej nie będziemy mogli pomagać dla Sparty. Bo podejrzewam, że jednak udział naszej postaci to będzie jakby game changer dla wojny peloponeskiej.
Tak.
We're not going to talk about it yet because we're adjusting still and making sure that we have the right amount of content for it. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan. We appreciate you coming on to show more of Odyssey now that it's out in the open. Tell us, when can we get our hands on this?
You can play Odyssey on October 5th, 2018. It's going to be an amazing game. I hope you love it.
Awesome. Great. Jonathan, have a good rest of E3
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming onto the stage. If you're watching from home, don't go anywhere. We are going to be coming right back with Cyberpunk 2077. See you then.
Tak jeszcze dopowiadając, to będzie w ogóle pierwszy raz, kiedy oni będą mówić cokolwiek o Cyberpunku, przynajmniej z tego, co ja wiem, a raczej jestem dobrze doinformowany. Także słuchajcie, to już zaraz. Jestem ciekawy, kto przede wszystkim będzie występował, kto będzie prezentował tą grę, bo chyba, nie wiem, czy to będą wszyscy ci sami ludzie na wszystkich 3 konferencjach, jakie dzisiaj będą, ale zobaczymy. Mam nadzieję, że to też będą różne osoby, żeby po prostu jakby... Wiecie, bo może być jakiś storyteller, może być ktoś od gameplayu, może być ktoś od grafiki i po prostu jestem żeby jakby na tą grę spojrzeć z różnych punktów widzenia, ale zobaczymy jeszcze, jak to wyjdzie. Bardzo bym cię poprosił, żebyś wstał i zapalił światło.
Już się robi.
I żebyś nie patrzył tyle na telefonie, bo mnie to ciągle triggeruje, jak odkładasz telefon, bo to strasznie słychać na mikrofonie i za to was też przepraszam. Odkładaj go sobie gdziekolwiek, tylko nie na biurko.
Upsi Daisy, przepraszam.
Bo to strasznie niskie dźwięki, gdzie strasznie to się przenosi po ramieniu.
Sapkowski przyjdzie, kurwa, i powie.
Tak, Sapkowski przyjdzie, powie, nie chujowa gra.
Nie, tak
dobra,
takie...
patrzcie, już mamy kogoś z teamu Cyberpunk.
Szybko powiem, tak przyjdzie Sapkowski, wiecie, development team, dyrektor kreatywny i tak przyjdzie Sapkowski, bierzcie pieniądze z góry! Dobra.
Bierzcie pieniądze z góry.
Albo nie, lepiej, taki wiecie, taki martwy Sapkowski, tak, nie bierzcie pieniędzy z góry!
Właśnie, jestem ciekawy, znaczy podejrzewam, że Mike Pondsmith tego błędu nie popełnił i on raczej podpisał na procenty.
Właśnie,
także no.
Tak, no.
Raczej Mike Pondsmith błędu Sapkowskiego nie popełni, przynajmniej taki jest plan. I tak by było dla niego oczywiście dobrze. To nie jest Konrad Tomaszkiewicz, prawda? Chyba nie. Ja go dawno nie widziałem, ale to raczej nie on. Nie poznaję tego człowieka. Ale zobaczymy, już za jakieś 3 minuty. Także znowu dajcie znać babcią, mamą, tatą, dziadką, wujką, rybką morskim, psom, świnką morskim. Dużo rzeczy jest morskich.
I kaszalotą.
Kaszalotą też, że będą gadać o Cyberpunku 2077. I zapraszamy ponownie na analizę trailera, która już się niedługo pojawi. Też ją zrobimy pewnie na streamie, a później będzie na YouTubie. W ogóle no to się wszystko, całe relacje z E3 się pojawią na YouTubie, wszystkie podsumowania, ale najpierw musimy je zrobić. Także to jeszcze chwilę nam zajmie, ale myślę, że gdzieś tak za 2 tygodnie już powinniśmy mieć całe E3 skowerowane. Tak mi się wydaje, bo wiecie, jeszcze
zależy od pana montażysty.
Zależy od pana montażysty i od tego właśnie, jak będzie jeszcze ze szkołą, bo w sumie rok się kończy.
Ja mogę nawet dzisiaj, ale nie mam materiałów.
Rok się kończy, no w sumie wystawienie ocen jest w ten piątek, tak więc nie wiem, zobaczymy, jak to jeszcze będzie, jak będzie u mnie z czasem i jak będzie z innymi rzeczami, które powiedzmy będę musiał robić, szczególnie od strony filmowej jeszcze. Ale to jeszcze wszystko zobaczymy. Zostały 2 minuty do tego, aż tutaj... Czyżby tylko jeden pan z CD Projektu mówił? No spoko.
No to szanujmy kaszaloty, widzicie?
Dobra, w takim razie mamy jednego pana z CD Projektu, który będzie o tym sam opowiadał. No i zobaczymy, jestem ciekawy, jakie pytania też tutaj padną w jego kierunku. A skoro o kaszalotach, wiedziałeś, że wieloryby mają największe penisy ze wszystkich zwierząt? No, biorąc pod uwagę, że wieloryby to są największe zwierzęta na świecie, to tak. Można się tego było spodziewać.
A teraz Cyberpunk.
Bałbym się sprawdzić, wpisać w Google, bo zaraz by były jakieś chore hentaje.
A ja nie, już.
Byłyby jakieś chore hentaje, kurwa, z wielorybami.
Ja jestem nieustraszony, już się robi.
Dawaj. Mission accepted.
Jak jest kaszalot po angielsku? No, piszę po polsku, czyli...
Dobra zagwozdka.
Oż w chuj! Patrz!
Okej.
No duży, no!
Duży!
To przypomina mi kurwa taką pietruszkę trochę, ale...
Taką przeźniętą pietruszkę.
No!
No kurwa,
nie wiem, czy to jakoś dobrze zobaczycie, ale...
O, tak wygląda penis wieloryba. Bardzo proszę, takie ciekawa rzecz, bardzo. Dobra, wystarczy. Czekamy na Cyberpunka, dajcie Cyberpunka, kurwa.
Quality entertainment.
Nie wiem po co nie robię taką długą przerwę. Kurwa, siedzi już gościu, co ma gadać? To niech gada,
Hehehe, Simon, zabawne.
A tak, by the way, to jeszcze wspomnę, póki mi się przypomniało, bo tam mamy napis Nintendo w rogu, w tym rogu. Nie będzie konferencji Nintendo, bo Nintendo dla nas to jest coś w ogóle, to jest coś, czego my w ogóle, tam nie byłoby dla nas żadnej ciekawej gry.
Nie będziemy obrażać Nintendo, szanujmy ludzi, ale po prostu dla nas to jest nic wartego uwagi.
I uwaga, zaczynamy pierwsze informacje o cyberpunku.
Telefon idzie tam, a oczy idą po prostu.
Mówiłem ci coś, nie odkładaj na biurko.
Hey everyone, welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of E3 2018. I'm Mike Mahardy here with Lucy James as always.
Hello.
And we have an exciting guest and an exciting game on our stage right now. We're here with Kyle Rowley.
Hello.
Hi.
Associate Design Director at CD Projekt.
Yes, Associate Design Director at CD Projekt Red. Working on Cyberpunk.
It's not CD Projekt, it's CD Projekt, kurwa.
Released,
what,
2 days ago now? It's been out in the open?
Oh man, it's such a relief for it to finally be out.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's shrouded in secrecy.
Yeah, everyone at the studio is super hyped. We're super excited to see the reactions and everything. So, yeah, I'm really excited about seeing what other stuff we have to show. So, yeah.
It's been one of the most asked about games since if I remember correctly, it got announced even before The Witcher 3 was like a known
2013,
thing.
Yeah,
it's been a while now. So let's talk about the trailer. We can talk about gameplay, right? We can dive into that.
We can talk
cool.
about that.
Well, actually, let's just dive into that. I think that's what everybody probably wants to know about. So what can you tell us about the gameplay that the trailer might not have made clear?
Okay, so a few things. So first of all, the game is a first-person perspective role-playing game.
Okay.
There's a few reasons for that. The main thing that we really, we're spending a lot of time on creating this a very detailed cyberpunk world set in Night City. It's all handcrafted. There's a lot of atmosphere. We really want the player to feel the depression and the fact that these mega corporations are kind of stamping down on people's lives and kind of and to kind of really showcase that and to kind of really immerse the player in that world. We decided that the first-person perspective was the best way of doing it. So it's first person, doesn't mean it's a first person shooter or anything like that. The game is definitely a role-playing game. So I really want to emphasize the fact that it's a role-playing game with some shooter elements rather than like a first person shooter with a bit of a role-play layered on top.
Sure.
We have very deep progression systems, so all the things you would expect from a CD Projekt Red game, multiple different progression systems actually, skills, attributes, perks, like cyberware obviously. So it's definitely a role-playing game in the first-person perspective.
And you were saying are you going to start with like a base character and build them out, or are there going to be classes that you start from, or how will that work?
So the player takes on the role of V. She's like an urban mercenary hired gun. She takes on dangerous jobs, or he or she actually. She takes on dangerous jobs that no one else will. And as I was talking about before, we really wanted to give this feeling of the city being quite oppressive. So in order to kind of break free from this oppression, she really has to, the player's really focused on completing these different missions, freeing themselves from the state, building their own, defining their own rules. So the player plays as V, and we have a full character creation system in the game.
Yep.
So you'll be able to define your gender, whether it's male or female. You'll be able to define how you look. So we have various different body types, hairstyles, clothes, tattoos, makeups, and many, many more. And obviously you can define your what we're calling life path. It's like a backstory. And the things you define in your life path and your backstory can modify or unlock different things as you're playing through the game. Now, at the start of the game, we don't actually have any kind of classes that you pick from.
Okay.
Obviously, in Cyberpunk 2020, there's lots of different roles that you can partake on. So corporate, rocker boy, netrunner, techie, etc. At the start of the game, you're not picking any of those classes. Basically, as you're progressing through the game, you're modifying and adjusting your class based on the attributes, the perks you pick, the cyberware you install. So it's a very fluid class system. We don't lock you in at the very start of the game or anything like that. So.
Outside of the obvious like Cyberpunk 2020, the property, what were some outside influences that you guys looked at for building Night City? I mean, a lot of people immediately were saying Blade Runner during the trailer, but what are some of those influences that factor in?
I mean, like as you can see in the trailer, we focused a lot on kind of trying to build the cyberpunk atmosphere in daytime, because we know for a fact that we can create the kind of moody, atmospheric, noir feeling that you get from Blade Runner. So for the trailer, we really wanted to showcase how you can take the cyberpunk elements of like this dystopian world and kind of and show it when the sun's out. So like, because it's not something that you necessarily experience in traditional cyberpunk media. But that's not to say we don't have those Blade Runner noir-like elements. Actually, one of the terms that we're phrasing for the game story is like game noir. Like the story is very noir and how it works. At the feeling and the different kind of missions and characters you're interacting with, it definitely has that noir vibe. So if anyone's worried that we're not going to have this kind of Blade Runner noir feeling, it's definitely going to be there. The game has a full day-night cycle with weather systems, so yeah, you get to experience both daytime and nighttime, and for sure we'll have that neon cityscape that people really are craving for.
One of the things I was interested in finding out is how you've taken Cyberpunk 2020 and like tried to take the design elements from that and how you can translate those into a video game compared to a tabletop.
I mean, we've been working super closely with Mike Pondsmith, who's like the creator of the 2020 rulebook. Both, I mean, for sure, there's a lot of aspects from the 2020 rulebook which is built into the lore. So obviously, we take the city as a whole. The city itself is based. Night City is based on the 2020 rulebook. There's a lot of characters from the 2020 who will make an appearance in 2077. We can't go into details about how it will work or anything like that, but for sure there'll be there's characters from the lore that you can expect to find there. And then obviously in terms of the gameplay side, as I said before, the classes and the roles are prevalent in the game. We're kind of focusing on three main ones for the actual game itself, so Netrunner, Techie, and the Solo. But it's not like, as I said, it's not like you kind of pick one at the start and then you just play it through the way through. You basically craft your class or your archetype as you're playing through the game. So hypothetically, you can have bits of Techie and bits of Netrunner and bits of Solo, and you can kind of combine them. The other cool classes that are in there, like in the game in general, like Rocker Boy and Corporate, they're kind of more in there from a lore perspective, from a story perspective. You'll encounter characters who represent those other alternate roles, but it's not something that we're going to allow the player to necessarily play with.
It's such such a different aesthetic, obviously, than The Witcher, fantasy inspired, which was also based on like existing properties. But what were some of the biggest lessons that the team took from their other properties, Witcher 1, 2, 3, 3 especially being the like the studio was maybe Witcher 2 was its breakout game, but Witcher 3 was just this phenomenon, right? What were some of the biggest lessons that the team found from Witcher 3 that really wanted to implement in Cyberpunk?
I mean, for sure, how we build an immersive world, the attention to detail that we put in Witcher 3. We're doing the same thing again, but in like a completely new genre for us. We really, obviously, we were very proud of how the story and quest system is in Witcher. So we're taking all of that stuff that we learned from Witcher 3, and we're taking it and putting it in Cyberpunk. As I said at the start, I really want to emphasize the fact that we're a role-playing game first and foremost, and not like a shooter or anything like that. It's choice and consequence of your actions, like how you interact with characters and the choices you make and how that affects the story is super important. We're a narrative-driven company first and foremost. It's like the one thing that we're super passionate about and super proud about, and obviously the role-playing aspect as well. So how we built those quests and how we got the player immersed in those stories and those are the kind of things that we really want to translate to Cyberpunk. We're not really looking to build this epic tale that kind of is like a save the world kind of story. In the same vein of the Witcher games, we're really focused on like personal stories, like personal stories of the people in the world, and personal stories for V as herself as well. So.
One of the things that's really special about CD Projekt is the relationship that you guys have with your fans. Like in particular, like Witcher, the way that you handled DLC, and you're very open in talking to the fans about the games that you're making. Obviously, with Cyberpunk, you announced and then went quiet for so long. But even in your like sort of re-reveal trailer, you kind of apologized for that. Going forward, like what kind of relationship are you going to be having with getting details about Cyberpunk out? I
mean, we're going to be significantly more open, I think. I think that's the first thing. I mean, that's why we're so excited, really, because it's the start of us being able to talk about the game. We've been working on it for quite a long time, and we have a lot of information to share with people, and so I would for sure expect more information being drip fed out over the next X amount of time. I don't really want to.
X amount of time.
Yeah, I can't really
almost said it.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, for sure, we're going to be. We'll be interacting on social media. We'll be interacting on the forums. Like we'll be answering questions. Obviously, there's some things that we don't. For story is one thing that we want to keep that under wraps. But we'll be open to talking about how the gameplay works, what the player can do in the game. So yeah. We're going to definitely be more open, I would say.
Can you talk a little more? I mean, you're saying it's not going to be, it's obviously not a shooter, it's an RPG, but still I think people, if you could talk about it, are probably curious about how combat will work in general.
Right. Okay, yeah. So we have both ranged combat, so we have guns, and we have melee-based combat as well. So, and obviously, we learned quite a lot from the combat in Witcher 3. And we're translating that, to kind of go back to your other question, we're translating that's the lessons we learned in the gameplay about how to do melee and try and transfer it to Cyberpunk. Obviously, it's very different in the fact that we're doing it from a first-person perspective rather than from the third person. But the lessons that we learned in Witcher, we can definitely translate. Yeah, so in weapons-wise, we have basically there's three main types of weapons that you can, three kind of gameplay-themed style weapons that we have. We have power weapons, which are focused on like traditional weapons that you would have nowadays. So they're when you fire them, we may have, for example, exaggerated hit reactions and staggers to kind of emphasize the hit impacts. And then we have tech weapons, which are kind of focused on penetrating through walls and objects and NPCs and stuff like that. And then we have smart weapons, which are basically weapons which can track and follow targets around the game. We're again, because, and I keep going back to it, but because we're a role-playing game and we understand some people aren't necessarily averse to Twitch-based combat who like playing role-playing games. We tried to design, for example, the smart weapons around being something that people can pick up and play casually without necessarily have to be super efficient with shooting people in the head with more Twitch-based, reaction-based combat. So we're trying to cater to both audiences there with that. So, yeah.
So horses are gone, but it looks like there's flying cars. Is that how we're going to be getting around?
We will be getting around in vehicles.
Okay.
We're only really talking about right now is that for sure we're going to have motorcycles and we're going to have drivable cars.
Okay. Right.
The other vehicles that potentially in the game, we're not talking too much about that stuff right now. I mean, we have them obviously in the trailer, the AVs, and for sure they're going to be big narrative. They're going to be narrative set pieces where we utilize AVs a lot, but we're not talking about anything about the actual
Okay.
Yeah.
So as you play as V, is V going to be voiced?
Yeah. So we have both a male and female voiced V. For us, it's in the same way we had with Geralt. As a studio, we feel we can create more interesting and deep stories. Like our stories are quite character-driven. So for us having someone who's voiced and is a named character, it allows us to build relationships better with characters. So that's why we decided to go with a named character rather than necessarily having like a blank slate with no name and just can do completely whatever you want with. So V, in a sense, does have her own kind of personality, but you shape it as a player. So depending on your backstory that you select at the start and how you interact with characters, you can kind of shape V as a person as you're playing through the game. So
the cyberpunk aesthetic and genre, I guess, is so much less established than fantasy. What's it like working with cyberpunk and being able to do this kind of like dystopia as opposed to this fantasy world?
I mean, I think that even in Witcher 3, we were kind of more dark fantasy than necessarily high fantasy.
Yeah.
So I think we're quite good at telling stories which aren't the most happy stories in the world. I think the biggest difference for us is obviously the fact that the feeling of the world is just very different from what we did in Witcher 3. And the feeling of the world and trying to understand the technology that is in the world. And we spend an awful lot of time, and it's something that as a studio, again, we're quite proud of, is that we spend a lot of time on figuring out details of the world, its lore, making sure it's believable, it has a purpose. And I mean, Cyberpunk's actually set in an alternative timeline to our own. So it's not like in 2077, it's a future based on our future as it is right now. It's kind of based on a future from like the 1890s Cyberpunk future. So it's not like we can just take what we see here and try and transfer it to the game. We have to reinvent things like based on how it was before in previous Cyberpunk literature.
Is it like a Southern California influenced area?
Yeah, so it's set in Night City, which is on the coast of California.
Gotcha.
It's in between actually Los Angeles and San Francisco.
Okay, cool.
But it's a fictional city.
Yeah.
So again, we can it gives us liberties to basically do as we want. Obviously, there's heavy inspiration from like Los Angeles and San Francisco and San Diego and all those kind of things. We have all those elements in the city. And a bit like in, we really wanted to kind of emphasize the fact that there's 6 unique districts inside the city. So it's not like when you're traveling through, it's going to feel the same all the time. It kind of comes back to what I was talking about when we want it. You'll have the noir feeling and you'll have the days and night cycle. You'll also have kind of more kept areas with the like high rich corporates are staying, but you'll have areas like Pacifica which are kind of totally overrun with gangs, and it's just like they kind of own the streets. It's very depressing, like poverty is like everywhere, so it's like you'll definitely, as you're traveling through the city and your different districts, you'll definitely feel the difference between the districts, so it won't feel the same wherever you're playing.
Okay.
So, and we really want to encourage the player to explore Night City. So, and the other big difference obviously is that with Witcher it was very like wide landscape, like horizontal, whereas for Cyberpunk we're really pushing verticality more. So we have a lot of buildings you can enter which have a lot of floors in them, so you can explore. We have some things called like mega buildings, which are kind of like these huge complex micro societies in on themselves. They have like vendors and shops and gunsmiths and apartment blocks and all that kind of stuff, all inside like one big building. So when you're exploring the world, you go inside a mega building, you're like, okay, now I'm going to explore inside here and see what I can find. There's like stories to be told, there's like quests to find, missions to go on, stuff like that. So,
are you able to talk at all about, like, does V level up and stuff as she goes along? How is that going to work within the context of like such a huge world with side quests, main quests? Are things going to scale to your level? Can you over-level yourself?
We're not doing any kind of level scaling really. I mean, we basically have 2 forms of experience. We have like standard experience, which you'll gain from completing core missions. And then we have what we call street cred, which is an alternate experience you gain from doing side missions.
Right.
And actually, when you're completing both main quests and side quests, you kind of get a bit of both, but we kind of separate that. We split the amount of each XP depending on if you're doing a main or side mission.
Okay.
So main missions kind of get core XP, and side missions get the street cred. Street cred's basically a way for you to, based on your street cred level, you can unlock different vendors and will unlock different fixes. Fixes are kind of like mission givers in this world, right? So they'll give you jobs to do, and you get access to new fixes as you're kind of leveling up your street cred. So.
Okay. Well, Kyle, unfortunately, that's all the time we have, but thank you so much for shedding more light on Cyberpunk. Yeah, I know everybody has had questions for years now, so it's nice to be getting some of them answered, definitely.
Cool. Thanks a lot, man. It's been awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And have a good rest of the week, and I might or might not, but definitely will maybe get to play the game later today. I'm excited about.
Yes.
But anyway, thank you so much, Kyle.
Oh, no worries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And if you're at home, keep around GameSpot. Stick around GameSpot. We will have the amazing adventures of Captain Spirit on very shortly. We'll see you then.
Jeśli to była naprawdę zapowiedź tego, że cholera będzie jakiś gameplay na któryś z tych pokazów pokazany, to po prostu wow.
To jest moje
Jezus Maria, nie wiem czy ja nie zapamiętam wszystkiego, co on powiedział, to trzeba będzie chyba przy okazji analizy.
To będzie w pierwszej osobie, mi się to nie podobuje. Ja naprawdę mam nadzieję, że jeszcze będzie trzecia dodana.
Zobaczymy, może jeszcze ktoś zada jakieś pytanie takie na tych kolejnych
pytanie,
konferencjach.
Mnie doszuje, czy będzie tylko jedno miasto, tylko Night City, czy jakby coś jeszcze poza tym?
Wydaje mi się, że będzie tylko Night City.
Mi też tak wydaje, ale zobaczymy.
Ja myślę, że chyba trzeba będzie zrobić dziennie, chyba przy okazji analizy trailera Cyberpunka pozbieram wszystko, co oni tutaj powiedzieli, sobie rozpiszę, żeby na pewno wszystkim nie zapomnieć. Bo teraz z pamięci na pewno takie rzeczy. No właśnie oni,
pierwsza osoba.
Tak, pierwsza osoba. To, że to na pewno będzie silny nacisk na RPG. System rozwoju,
zdefiniowana postać, ale
tak, zdefiniowana. Właśnie, o dobra, to już mi się przypomniało, o czym chciałem bardzo powiedzieć. O klasach postaci. Bo właśnie to była dużo nie wiadomo przed. Chodzi o to po prostu, czy... bo świat Cyberpunka jest bardzo bogaty w te klasy i jak on tutaj powiedział, będą jakby 3 główne klasy, których nie będzie się definiować, reszta klas pojawi się jako postacie w grze, czyli nie będziesz miał takiej naprawdę ultimate wyboru, że powiedzmy 10 różnych klas, w które się będzie grało kompletnie inaczej, tylko będą jakby 3 główne klasy, czyli podejrzewam 3 drzewka rozwoju jak w Asasynie. Pytanie, czy się będzie dało dosłownie wszystko odblokować ze wszystkich drzewek, jeżeli tak, to w sumie chyba trochę słabo. bo jakby zatrzy się ta granica między klasami. I kurde, no nie wiem, no to będzie na pewno ciekawe. Ciekawie będzie poznawać więcej rzeczy. I jak ten gościu powiedział, że dzisiaj możemy zagrać w tą grę, to...
Się troszkę mokro zrobiło, ale...
Tak, się troszkę mokro zrobiło. Dobra, zobaczmy, bo tak, ja nie pamiętam, co myśmy tu mieli jeszcze w planach. Także
za chwilę będzie Amazing Adventures of Captain Spirit i to też trzeba ogarnąć. Zobaczmy.
Że o tutaj będzie?
Tak.
Ale ja już zatrzymam streama. Zaraz, ja muszę zobaczyć, bo co będzie następne z tych ważnych rzeczy dzisiaj, a nie jakichś takich pogier, które już niedługo będą za darmo.
Nie obraraj!
Dobrze. Aha, do Cyberpunka następnego mamy 2 godziny. No powiedzmy 1,5.
A tutaj pokaż jeszcze opis.
Tak, co my tu jeszcze będziemy mieli? Będziemy mieli przygody tego, później jakiś Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Czyli teraz już? Weź, zobacz.
No tak, dobra, to w takim razie możemy oglądać dalej. Możemy oglądać, myślę, że ciekawie będzie posłuchać o tym. Myślę, że źle nie zrobiłem, że zatrzymałem tu pewnie i tak oni jeszcze nie zaczęli rozmowy, bo jest przerwa. Także akurat przynajmniej sobie przewiniemy kawałek i za chwilę powinniśmy usłyszeć coś. Jest ten pan, co gadał w trailerze.
Pokaż jeszcze ten opis.
Jaki opis? Dobrze,
ten,
już
wiesz,
pokazuję.
Ty jeszcze jesteś.
No jeszcze ewentualnie miałem być ciekawy o The Division, to jest pierwsza 20.
Nie.
Czyli to będzie jeszcze chyba przed, tak? To będzie przed? To była 21, czyli to jest 22. Tak, czyli The Division będzie jeszcze przed, to będziemy mogli tutaj wrócić o 22:20, czyli za godzinę.
Ja już potem sobie zniknę na chwilę i wrócę na Cyberpunka.
Nie, Forza nie. Forza to raczej nie będę oglądać, raczej mi to nie jara.
Oj, nie zabraniamy przecież wam oglądać, wy sobie jak najbardziej możecie przejąć, którego chcecie.
Dokładnie. Ja nawet będę mógł zostawić to, żeby to sobie leciało w tle tak naprawdę, bo pewnie zrobimy jakąś przerwę. I ja jeszcze tak, kto tam dalej będzie? Dalej chyba będzie IGN. IGN szczerze nie wiem, gdzie będzie streamować, także...
YouTube chyba.
A na razie posłuchajmy sobie tego.
I'm Mike, here with Lucy.
Hello.
We'll be here all week, and we are about to talk about the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit. We're here with Michelle, co-game director. How you doing, Michelle?
I'm good. I'm great. Thank you. Thank you. It's awesome to be here at History to present Captain Spirit. We're extremely happy to be able to show what we have been doing for a long time now, because for the past 2 years we've been working on Life is Strange 2.
Yeah.
And we will talk about Life is Strange 2 soon in the coming months. But here we're showing...
No czyli potwierdzili chyba właśnie w tym momencie pracę nad Life is Strange 2.
Już potwierdzili wcześniej, wiesz, ale jako, że w najbliższych miesiącach znów się trochę mokro zrobiło. Zobaczymy.
Mi nie aż tak mocno, bo ja aż tak bardzo się nie jaram Life is Strange.
Ja jestem też psychofanem Life is Strange.
For the players to what Life is Strange 2 will be. Because if you play search in the game, look for clues, there will be definitely hints and clues to the characters, the setting, and what will be Life is Strange 2.
Did you know before you set out to start Life is Strange 2 that you were going to do this kind of prologue, so to speak?
So, no, we didn't know at first. The way we create games with Raoul Barbet, the other creative director, is that we like to think of the stories, the characters, and while we were working on this big story that you will experience in Life is Strange 2, there was some...
Znaczy ten się pan bardziej znał, ja jeszcze nawet nie widziałem Before the Storm, bo chciałem bardzo zagrać i w sumie jeszcze tego nie zrobiłem.
To jest spin-off, to też jest spin-off. 2 to będzie pełnoprawny sequel do History Max.
Aha.
Chyba do Historii Max, tego jeszcze nie wiemy.
Ale
na pewno po zakończeniu 1, o.
I was going to say, and it's free as well. So how, like, and even looking at the trailers, you're like, it's free. It will always be free.
Yeah.
How important was that for you to get players on board?
So we're extremely happy that we are able to give this gift for free to the players, because it's really a full contained experience. So there is a beginning, there is an ending, and definitely if you didn't play Life is Strange 1, if you don't want to play Life is Strange 2, it's still okay. You will experience really this story, those characters, and hopefully you will find that it's a great experience by itself. But of course, it's also, there is a lot of small secrets and nods to the first Life is Strange. So for the fans of Life is Strange, they will find some elements that we hope they will be happy with. And if the players love Captain Spirit, we hope also that it's a way for them to bring them to want to try Life is Strange 2 later.
Right.
We also think that
you know, the narrative experience, narrative genre is something that sometimes the players, you have some players who think, this is not my sort of game. So if you give something like this for free, maybe they can try it, and I don't know, maybe some new players will see that it might still be interesting to play those kind of games, and maybe they will want to see more with the other Life is Strange.
Right. Can you talk about the character we'll be playing as?
Yeah. So in Captain Spirit, you're playing as Chris, who is a young kid he's almost 10, and he has a really vivid imagination. And basically, you're playing on this Saturday morning. It's almost Christmas, and he has a lot of free time because his dad is just watching a basketball game, and you can do basically whatever you want on this Saturday morning. So it's some sort of a small narrative sandbox where you can, for example, decide do you want to play with your toys in your room, do you want to help your dad with cleaning the house or stuff like that, do you want to go outside and play with snowballs or go to your treehouse. And for us, we hope that it's a way, there is a lot of replay value because you can definitely miss a lot of things in your first playthrough. There is some sort of a timeline, so if you're not at the right moment, at the right place, you will miss some elements that you might want to experience again. And the idea is that Chris is using his imagination. He loves to think he's a superhero. He somehow uses imagination to escape the day-to-day life and some of the darker issues he might be facing. This is really the core theme of the game. So how imagination is a power by itself to somehow get better with your life and escape some of the difficulties of what's around you.
Yeah, so we saw in the trailer, obviously, Chris's dad is drinking, and he's like, I'm not going to be lectured to by my son. Is it just going to be the relationship with his dad that's going to be explored? There was a mention of his mother.
So that's also the goal of the story, is that by pushing the player to become Captain Spirit and go into this kid's imagination, you will discover much more of the reality of Chris, of his father, of the family. And there is hints everywhere, like in the first Life is Strange, where you can just explore the environment and discover documents later. So you will definitely, if you're looking, get to know what happens to his mother, why his dad is drinking and stuff like that. But it's really up for the player to decide how he wants to explore this and what kind of information he wants to get. Or if he just wants to stay in his room and play, that's also something he can definitely do. We hope that the players will really love to explore all this and find the different paths and the different also imaginary worlds that you can explore.
I'm curious.
Czyli będziemy mieli semi-otwarty World Cup znowu.
I mean, it's almost like limitless, right, with his imagination?
So in terms of gameplay, it's still a Life is Strange game, so there are exploration, interactions, dialogue, and a lot of environmental storytelling. But since Chris thinks he's a superhero, there is also this new mechanic where on several interactions you can just press the trigger and play with his superpower. So some are quite simple, where you can just, go to the fireplace and just imagine that you're making fire out of your hand. Like, I mean, as a kid would pretend, and I think we all did that at some moment to just imagine we were making things fly or stuff like that. But there is also moments on the gameplay where you can go much more deeper into your imagination and visit those kind of parallel universe, which are imaginary worlds, which some will be easier to find than others in the game.
So obviously Max in the original Life is Strange had the ability to rewind time. What other powers were you looking at when you were developing Chris? Like, you were saying that it's the powers that people imagined they would have as a kid.
Yeah, it's basically the power of imagination, and we also have to play the story to discover what's more about it. So I cannot say everything about it. It's around, I would say it's around 2 hours of gameplay, but there is a lot of replay value. So definitely it's a game that has been designed to be played a bit several times. We also had in mind the community, that a lot of different players would have different experiences they could share together online on the social networks. So there is, I would say it's more than 2 hours, but depending on how you play it, it can be a bit less, it can be way more. And there is definitely ending and some secrets that you will find that I cannot tell about today.
So obviously Life is Strange took place in Arcadia Bay. Where are we going to be geographically?
So Captain Spirit takes place in Oregon, in a new small town called Beaver Creek. It's not too far away from Arcadia Bay. It's like much more in the east of Oregon, near the mountains and the forest. And yeah, if you look hard enough in the game, you will definitely find some hints and links with Arcadia Bay. Or
we look hard enough, we'll see a lighthouse just on the distance.
Oh, maybe the lighthouse is too far away.
What was it that made you, why like the power of imagination? Why Chris? When like, I mean, obviously you have your characters established in Life is Strange, and you have characters people are expecting to see in Life is Strange too. What was it that pulled you to this, what you said, like 9-year-old boy, almost 10-year-old? What is it about that point in his life that you thought supplemented the Life is Strange story so well?
I think it's a good question, but the way we are creating our games is, for us, Life is Strange is about relatable characters that are really anchored in real life, and where we can use their normal existence and experience to also talk about some social subjects, some darker themes that are interesting for us. So we dealt with a lot of those themes in the first Life is Strange. And when we were working on Life is Strange 2 and on Captain Spirit, we were also thinking what kind of new characters and new situations we want to bring to the community to also give some light on those new themes and new situations we wanted to talk about. And since we've all been kids at a point, having this story about what it is to be a kid somehow just by himself, quite lonely, and with his dad not really taking care of him, it's something that's interesting to see that how kids can overcome loneliness with the imagination, but also because it's also a great way to talk about those issues of loneliness, of even of alcoholism with the dad. And I won't spoil all the themes we are dealing with, but we always try to find the great characters and the good story to talk about those themes. And there is links with what you will have in Life is Strange 2. I cannot explain what those links are, but definitely why we did choose this as a reason for Life is Strange 2.
And one of the things you do, and what I really loved about Life is Strange, is the way that the emotional beats were backed up with music, whether it be licensed or whether an original score. What are you doing for Captain Spirit?
So you've heard in the trailer, there is one song in the trailer from Sufjan Stevens. I think the song is called Death with Dignity. It's in the trailer, and it plays a quite important part in the game, where you will hear this song in the introduction in different story moments. And of course, the lyrics were important for us in a way that you will understand when playing the story. There is two other licensed tracks in Captain Spirit that you will have to discover, and we're really happy to have those because one of them is from a French artist we really like, which is also important for us as a French studio to try also to push sometimes French artists that we really like. Yeah.
What's been the studio split working on Captain Spirit and working on Life is Strange 2?
So it's really the same team working on Captain Spirit and Life is Strange 2. It's really a common development. I mean, we were working on both at the same time. It's the same new engine, same technology. So it's really a side story that we are really crafting at the same moment. And so the team is the same team that worked on Life is Strange 1 at Dontnod. There are other teams on the studio working on other projects like Vampire or Twin Mirrors, but the team on Captain Spirit and Life is Strange 2 is really most of it the same team as the first Life is Strange.
Yeah, the studio has so many projects in the works. What is it like, like coordinating all that?
I think the team are quite separate, so it's more of having multiple different teams. And we are, of course, using Unreal Engine 4 for all of the projects, so we can still share some knowledge and some advance on the technology. But overall, it's really different directors and writers for all of the different teams.
Right.
What's been the biggest challenge in creating Captain Spirit?
I think the biggest challenge is writing for a kid, trying to make it believable, because we were all kids, but we were kids like 20 or 30 years ago, depends of the age of the guy in the team. So having a kid nowadays, the game takes place in 2016. So we need also to make, of course, to make a lot of research. The big challenge was to find the good actors for motion capture and voice actor, and we are extremely happy of the 2 kids we found. That also they themselves brought a lot to the characters. I mean, when we go to voice recording sessions, each time I make sure that the kid playing Chris is also reading the lines, and I let him adjust them if they feel weird for him.
Yeah.
Because even if we try our best to document ourselves, to make sure that we write them in a believable way, it's still better to have a kid proof check what you did right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Michelle, when can people get their hands on the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit?
Sorry?
When can people play? When can people play
the
the awesome
sorry.
adventures of Captain
So people
Spirit?
can play it on the 26th of June
Great.
on Xbox, PS4 and PC, and it's completely free, so I hope that a lot of players will try it and hopefully enjoy it.
Awesome. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us on stage and have a good rest of your E3 week.
Wspominał o tym, że będzie to dziś gameplay na 2 godziny z możliwością wielokrotnego przejścia, będzie sobie pewnie otwarty świat, czyli nie wszystko zobaczymy w pierwszym podejściu. I końcówka była dziwna, bo ten gościu, on w ogóle strasznie niewyraźnie czasami mówił... ja przez chwilę miałem wrażenie, że on jest Niemcem, miał jakieś takie naleciałości jakby z niemieckiego. Chodzi mi o to, że nie wiem jak on nie zrozumiał when can we play, jak sam mówił strasznie ciężko, ja go naprawdę czasami szczerze nie rozumiałem.
Ja jestem zajebiście podekscytowany na samą grę, mam bardzo duże oczekiwania, ale myślę, że się nie zawiodę. W końcu to jest Dotnot i... no ja pokładam w nich swoje nadzieje.
Dokładnie. Dobra, to słuchajcie, jeśli chodzi o to kończymy. Ja już odpaliłem wcześniej tutaj IGN, gdyż kolejny w kolejce jest IGN i kolejny to właśnie IGN będzie pokazywał Cyberpunka. Na razie jeszcze tutaj nic nie jest widzę zapowiedziane, ale na pewno to miało być, bo to już zostało ogłoszone. Tutaj chyba będę wybierać teraz najlepsze konferencje, tak więc sobie posłuchajmy opinii na temat konferencji, chyba że chcemy zrobić przerwę.
Nie, posłuchajmy jeszcze.
Need a lot more first party, and there you go. They spent the money for it.
I mean, it was relentless from a press perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like poor Andrew and Jonathan and the IGN news team, just game after game after game, so many new reveals, and you know, as you said, we sort of had to unpack later. Wait a second, this game's coming to every console, but you know, in the moment, Damon, I think I agree with you that they were able to pull off that sort of E3 wow factor. You know, we're going to show you 15 things you've never seen before.
Czyli mówił teraz o Microsoftie, jakby ktoś nie zajarzył.
Those games look as impressive as what Sony had to show off. I'm not quite so sure, but they definitely had the spectacle down.
I think we've grown used to this idea that Microsoft has this weird buzz phrase that they'll change every year, but it always means sort of the same things, like console launch exclusive or whatever.
Yeah. World premiere.
But this year, world premiere actually did mean something, and it was nice to see that coming up. And that bit at the end where Phil Spencer got to quite smugly go, everything from now is a world premiere, it's like you say, showmanship. It just really worked for the audience.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Microsoft showing this year. Later on the night was Bethesda, which started out a little rocky, but then totally got me on board by the end of it. Because they showed a bunch of games. It took them 12 minutes to get to a game after Andrew WK. Yeah. I know you're a big fan, Justin.
I am a big fan, actually.
But overall, what do you guys think of Bethesda?
You know, it's interesting.
Nudne w chuj.
Beating the VR drum. You know, Sony is with PSVR, obviously, but no one else really had too much to say about it. But Bethesda, you know, they're insisting that this continues to be a cornerstone of their business, so I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah. They focus on Fallout, which I'm a big Fallout fan, still not entirely sold on Fallout 76.
Yeah, I mean, everyone kind of expected it to be the online game. Everyone in the world is another player, all that stuff. We'd heard all these rumors coming out, and it's all true. I'm still not sure what that means. Yeah. I don't know how I play a Fallout game with every other character not wanting to help me. But it's certainly an interesting experiment, and I do like the fact that they're kind of continuing this run with Fallout games of it's going to be quite soon. Like, you know, you've got an idea of you're going to be playing this game you're seeing in the not too distant future.
Yeah, Fallout 76 was definitely their centerpiece, and it makes sense, actually, even if it doesn't strike everyone particularly. Even for us, it was the #1 topic from the Bethesda conference, just for IGN.com.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they focus that much.
I mean, you know, traffic-wise, IGN stats-wise, Fallout 76 is the winner of E3 so far, for whatever that's worth.
Popularity, or interest, at least.
Yeah.
They also...
Pojebało? Co? Znaczy, to jest, moim zdaniem, to jest gra odpowiedź na Anthem, tak naprawdę. Wychodzi wcześniej i założenia są dość podobne, znaczy RPG, tylko że MMO i widzę, że nam kamerka siadła, tak by the way.
years and years before that
Halo?
game was
Halo?
revealed. And so I
Kamerka?
think my take on this was that was an attempt to head that off. Like, yep, Elder Scrolls, it's coming someday. Please just don't ask us about it for a couple years.
Yeah.
Bethesda's the company that has the ratio most out of whack of coolest games to stuff that you're actually going to play anytime soon. He specifically said Starfield is next generation and Elder Scrolls 6 is coming afterwards. Like, we're talking years and years until we see this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I also think Rage 2 looks like a lot of fun coming this year. And then there were smaller filler stuff like the Wolfenstein, Youngblood expansion, and Doom, Hell Eternal.
Doom Eternal, and then there was the Prey DLC, which actually looks really cool.
Yeah,
Sounds
that
cool.
stuff too. Yeah. So there was actually a lot in there in Bethesda. I liked Bethesda. Moving into Monday, Square Enix held their first conference in 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
And I actually liked it. I liked several of the games they showed. Most of the general reaction, though, has been pretty negative. Like, that wasn't actually necessary for Square Enix to bring a conference back. Is that right?
Well, go ahead.
I mean, like, it felt sort of in a lot of ways like you were getting a series of press releases that were being spoken to you instead of, put in an email.
Yeah.
It was sort of weird. Like, so many of those things. I am massive Platinum fan. Cannot wait to know what that Platinum game is. I didn't need that trailer to tell me that a new Platinum game was coming, because it's almost more disappointing that I just don't know what it is after you've told me in a conference.
That's true.
Szczerze, ja się z nim nie zgadzam. Moim zdaniem aż taki Square Enix, na pewno Bethesda była gorsza moim zdaniem niż Square Enix, no bo mieli przynajmniej chociaż trochę ciekawych tytułów. I wydaje mi się, że ta gra, o której przed chwilą mówili, to chodzi o The Quiet Man. Tak mi się wydaje, bo nie wiem, czy tam jeszcze coś tam. It doesn't look fantastic, it looks like shit.
Which Ubisoft, I was a little bit disappointed in terms of like no big new surprises this year. Of course, Assassin's Creed leaked ahead of time, but they're going to have a new Assassin's Creed. Where was the new thing? Right? Someone else share that sentiment?
Wiem, że dużo ludzi jest tym trochę rozczarowane.
But I think last year was really strong.
Ja się nie zgadzam z tym, co oni mówią o Ubisoftie. Dla mnie Ubisoft też był bardzo dobry. Znaczy, prawda, nie pokazali w sumie nic nowego, ale pokazali było dużo gameplay i to było też spoko.
That's true. That's absolutely true. Sony last night was really strange. I want to play all of those games that Sony showed last night, but I didn't need a long intermission in between them.
I mean, they showed Spider-Man open world stuff after their sort of flashy stage presentation ended, of swinging around this seamless open world, and you're down on the ground fighting, then you're up in the cityscape swinging, and I'm like, that's so much more impressive and cool than sort of the story beat. I don't know that they called it Sinister Six, so put that on your stage.
Sort of heavily hinting towards that.
Jeśli chodzi o Sony, to się w sumie z nimi raczej zgadzam.
I absolutely loved that trailer.
Yeah, you like
Genuinely, I went back and watched the full 8.5 minutes again, and for once, I've been super down on Death Stranding trailers before now. This is the first time where I've gone through and I'm like, I actually know what that might be, and I'm starting to guess at ideas. I love the idea that it's like a delivery game. Like, who knows what that thing is?
Yeah.
But I love those little bits and pieces. The bit where he's just walking along with a corpse on his back. I mean, come on. It's
actually the first part of the game.
Yeah.
Where we're trying to figure out what the game is.
Exactly, yeah. It's exciting.
Very meta. And of course, Nintendo was this morning where they focus on Smash, which is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I was a little disappointed not to get anything more on Metroid Prime 4 or the 2019 Pokemon game, but at least Smash looks very meaty and satisfying and very cool.
No, to Nintendo to ba. Jestem ciekawy, co będzie dalej. Czy to jest coś jest napisane? Który jest teraz? 21. Czy był teraz Hitman? No i zaraz zobaczymy.
The IGN app is the best way to stay up to the minute on what you love. No matter what you play, create the custom feed and filter what you want to watch. Live streams have never been easier to find. With the floating video player on iOS, you can keep watching the live stream as you read other news. World premiere trailers and the biggest games. Download the IGN app from the iOS or Android stores now. Sign up for notifications.
Gdzie jest kurwa Reddit? Na żadnym niczym tego nie ma.
Prawda, to jest dziwne.
Ani głównej konferencji, nic pobocznego, nie wiemy kurwa nic, nigdzie się to nie pojawiło.
Coś czuję, nie wiem, być może ja mam taką teorię, że Rockstar może zrobić swoją własną imprezę oddzielną, kompletnie standalone.
Jeszcze gdzieś przed premierą?
Jeszcze gdzieś przed premierą.
Nie wiem.
Bo nie było żadnego gameplayu, muszą coś moim zdaniem pokazać przed.
Muszą, no.
Raczej nie daliby rady.
Bo to nie wygląda dobrze, my wiemy, że to jest Rockstar, nie wiem, ci którzy chcą to wiedzieć, to wiedzą, ale casual bez takiego dobrego marketingu to się może dobrze nie sprzedać.
Ale mam wrażenie, że mogą zrobić właśnie coś oddzielnego, jakąś dzielną imprezę taką stricte właśnie pod Red Dead Redemption. Ewentualnie jeszcze, bo ja nie śledzę mocno Rockstara, być może coś będzie na E3. W sumie to nie jest powiedziane.
Kampanie reklamowe to bardzo istotna część jakby wydawania wszystkich gier, no to nie wiem, takie niepokazywanie absolutnie niczego jest bardzo złą taktyką.
Niekoniecznie w przypadku Rockstara, Rockstar tak naprawdę mógłby zrobić coś, co w sumie chyba zapowiadał też CD Projekt. Tego też w sumie teraz nie wiadomo, co jest prawdziwe, bo były dwie różne jakby wersje, że będzie albo bardzo długa kampania i taka powiedzmy średnia, albo będzie krótka, bardzo intensywna i myślę, że może właśnie pójść tą taktyką Rockstar, że on po prostu dopierdoli, właśnie zacznie od na przykład takiej imprezy, a później powiedzmy to będzie gdzieś miesiąc przed premierą, i po prostu później już będziesz miał od zasrania wszędzie po prostu informacje o Red Dead Redemption. I to będzie taka szybka, ale bardzo treściwa kampania.
No zobaczymy.
Oh, hello there. Welcome back to IGN Live at E3 2018. There is no doubt that action games have been some of the biggest titles at E3 this year. If you can kick butt or punch faces, people want to play it. Let's take a look at the hottest action games coming out of the big show, presented by Sicario Day of the Soldado, only on the big screen June 29th. Now, action games. What are they? Where do they come from? Action games is a very big umbrella of almost every game, right?
Well, I mean, we were saying before we started recording that genres are so blended up now. You know, everything has RPG systems, you know, shooters, you know, sort of intermix quick-time events and melee action with sort of, you know, more shooter mechanics. And, you know, I personally love that about games, but it does make it hard to define.
What about something like Kingdom Hearts 3? Is this an action game? It's an action...
Get the hell out with this game, I hate it. I hate it so much.
Wiesz, ile osób jest nastrane o tym, że są podekscytowanie jak jasna cholera.
Ja mam dość tej gry.
Ja też.
And the bad guys were black, and they're up to no good. I think that's pretty much the basis of Kingdom Hearts.
I mean, I love, you know, when I was growing up, if I wanted to play a role-playing game, it was two lines of people lining up and you would take turns hitting each other. And now, you know, thanks to Borderlands and games like Kingdom Hearts and, you know, Destiny, Anthem, you know, you can have RPG, character progression, gear, you know, all that kind of thing that I love about the genre.
Szczerze nie wiem, czy ja chcę to oglądać.
Ja też właśnie miałem zaproponować, żebym ja się urwał z tego streama, albo obaj, żebyśmy się stąd urwali, na jeszcze czas przed Cyberpunkiem, czyli mięskiem takim głównym.
Tak jest. Także co, zrobimy sobie teraz chwilę
przerwy właśnie. Cyberpunk startuje o
23.
Dokładnie tak.
Czyli jeszcze. Także myślę, że zrobimy sobie chwilę przerwy. Mogę to zostawić, niech sobie leci, na chwilę odejdę od komputera.
Ale póki co wam serdecznie dziękujemy za oglądanie, czy na YouTubie, czy na żywo. Każdy z was jest bardzo doceniony, że nas słuchacie. Tak więc jeszcze raz dzięki i o 23 zapraszamy na
Cyberpunka. Widzimy się z powrotem na Cyberpunku, tak jest. Także robimy, mówię, chwilę przerwy. Ja na chwilę odejdę do komputera, ale za chwilę przyjdę, także coś możemy porobić ciekawego.
Ja wrócę do samego Cyberpunka.
I tak jak mówię, zostawię ten stream IGN-u, zobaczymy, co tam jeszcze dalej, może coś akurat ciekawego będzie.
Learning it might be as much a part of it as the RPG, kind of that feeling of collecting out for the right mission.
Yeah.
So you've still got some of that built in, but just in a different way.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, we were talking earlier how impressed we were with the Microsoft conference. Their big reveal at the end was Gears 5. Important to note, it's not Gears of War 5.
Yep.
Just Gears 5. I actually thought that game looked really cool. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it seemed like narratively more interesting than any other title before. Not to say I've never enjoyed the story, but it seemed like it was focusing in more on this kind of emotional story on this female lead, which was really interesting to see.
Yeah. And from a pure action game perspective, I'm really glad to see none of the robots from Gears 4, which I did not enjoy fighting, and those sort of mutanty guys in the dark room. I don't know the names of them. I apologize, but they sort of that reactive. They're falling apart as you shoot them. It feels like satisfying even to look at. I'm sure to play it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. How did Gears 5 strike you, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I really like that franchise. I think they've done a really good job of reinventing it and keeping it fresh. Now 6 games on, and so you know, I'm just excited to learn more.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll make it there to in the B-roll we see here, but later on you see some really cool environments, and Microsoft was saying there's actually more open world elements to this Gears, which is very exciting to me. We were talking about Fallout 76 earlier. That's an action game, or is it? That's my question. Justin?
I don't know. No, I mean, the interesting thing is since it's all, shared world, open world, you against other players, we don't know what that means for VATS, which was sort of the freeze the action and aim at different body parts. They've confirmed that VATS is in the game in some capacity, but that's just one of the many sort of question mark things. Like, unfortunately, we're just going to need to, maybe we'll get more about that at E3, but probably just going to have to wait and get our hands on it and find out for ourselves.
Does that sound like some sort of like auto-targeting?
Yeah, possibly. And so depending on how that's integrated into the game, sort of the specific crunchiness of how that combat feels, I think that will determine, is this one of the great action games or is it still, more role-playing?
Yeah, I don't know. What we're seeing, this seems like more of an action game than Fallout has ever been, right?
100%. Yeah. Like, you just watching that footage, it looks more dynamic, it looks more like, positioning matters over sort of your kind of general RPG style. I mean, there's horrible headshots apparently. Yeah, it does look like, well, there's moments where it just looks like a co-op squad action game. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I have to wonder if the VAT system does come into play in an element kind of like how you would do with like a public event, especially since it's an online experience. Like maybe you're gearing up with people and then that's when you can use it and kind of adds to that combat experience, used to say.
Yeah, maybe it's like painting targets, like a sort of shooting game. It's not freezing anything, but you're sort of moving it over and then get a load of shots at once at the end of it or something along those lines.
Yeah. No, what about Rage 2? This was revealed before E3. We finally got to see a nice big chunk of gameplay. For me, it was I think that game still looks fun, still looks cool, but it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be.
It's one of the 15 games that Avalanche is making.
Yep. Yes. Yep. Along with Just Cause 4.
Yeah, I mean, Avalanche known for their, sort of car combat. They made Mad Max, and then pairing that with id Software really is kind of like a chocolate and peanut butter situation. Hopefully, we'll see how the finished game turns out, but such a wonderful marriage of worlds on that.
Yeah, I love how fluid the combat looks, at least from what we've seen. It's like you're shooting in one direction, and then you slide right into cover, and you jump over another, like a vehicle, and apparently you can walk into any of these vehicles too and drive them around. So it seems like it's really fast-paced.
So I got to go to Sweden and play the game before E3, which was
You've been
really
holding
nice
this whole time.
I was just letting you all embarrass yourselves before I came in. So what they showed us was really odd because we saw almost none of the open world when we were playing, but what we did see was a very tight corridor structured shooting sequence. It feels like an id game. It's all made by Avalanche. Avalanche are leading development, but the shooting feels so in awe of Doom 2016. And that feeling of constantly being pushed forward, constantly trying to get into melee combat and do cool moves. Those abilities that we saw briefly, like Shatter, which is the sort of force push, except when you force push people, they explode, which is amazing. And sort of ground pounds, it's got a bit of bullet storm to it. I'm super excited for it. I don't know how the open world's going to work because they're just not showing us. But in terms of just the straight shooting, this is the section I played. It's really exciting.
Oh, that's good to hear, and that's coming early 2019, I believe. Now, what about, there's this new game, Jump Force. Are fighting games action games? They fall under the umbrella of action games?
I think this one's definitely drawing on Japanese action games as a style because it's got that 3D element. You're working around a sort of arena as opposed to a side-on action game. So I think it fits fits the bill.
And this is kind of anime bros brawl. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Is that accurate?
I mean, there's been Jump Superstars and Jump, this has been, these crossover fighting games have existed in the past, but this is obviously very big, very flashy, AAA take on that, that crossover fighting genre.
Yeah. And it looks amazing, if not a little goofy. It's almost like an uncanny valley for anime.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it.
You were saying you're a big fan of Dragon Ball.
Oh, yeah. And it's good to see that Goku makes an appearance. But I don't know how it seems like it's going to play until I get my hands on it, of course.
It is here at the show. So, this is one of the games that I'd sort of filed away. There's some games that, all right, I'm hyped. I don't need to know anything more. And Jump Force went into the Justin needs to know more category. So I'll read our hands-on impressions and see how it looks like it's shaping up.
For me, it's not clear, how do all these characters fall under one umbrella? Smash Bros. Began with, it's the fighting game with Nintendo characters. Do all these anime properties belong in one house? I don't, it's unclear to me.
I mean, they're all, shonen manga and anime, right? So they're all sort of under that umbrella,
So it's the shonen...
Well, that genre of...
That genre, okay.
Shonen Jump, right? That's the magazine that they're all in.
Okay. They're all
Yeah,
in
they're
this
in
one
that
magazine.
universe, in this this manga series.
All right, I think that makes sense. Now, what about Spider-Man? We talked a little bit about that. Did you like the open world swinging that you saw, Justin?
Yeah, it looks incredible.
Yeah.
I just can't believe like it actually looks like what I wanted. I'm so used to really desperately wanting something to be true, and then I've created a game in my head that will never exist.
It's like the monkey's paw. Like you're gonna get Spider-Man, but it's gonna have this horrible twist on it.
But Spider-Man just looks so perfectly built to give everyone what they wanted since the Spider-Man 2 game.
Yeah.
So,
I thought it would have the most boring presentation of all of the games that Sony showed on stage, but because we've seen so much of it, and I just felt like, we know what that game is. We don't need to see more of that. And yet they still managed to step it up and show some stuff that was really interesting that we hadn't seen before.
Yeah, and that one's not too far off. It's in September.
I've seen people be a little bit dismissive and saying it just looks like Spider-Man Arkham, right? Like Spider-Man by way of the Batman games.
Which
and
is
first
that
of all,
a bad thing?
Yeah, those games are awesome.
Yeah.
And second of all, there's not one of those coming out this year. So I think it's absolutely going to sort of fit that mold and fit the bill. Insomniac is the exact right company to be making this game too.
Yeah.
You just reminded me that there was no mention of Sledgehammer. The C3. There were those rumors about maybe a Justice League game, but still nothing to be nothing real there yet.
We shall see.
Now let me ask you this: what about something like Hitman? Is Hitman a game where you're supposed to be stealthy and cool and calm and collected? Are those action games?
I think if Hitman turns into an action game, you've sort of screwed it up.
Yeah,
well,
that's
Absolution. Like they kind of did that once.
On that note.
Yeah, that's true.
I think they're pretty puzzly, right? Like that's how I sort of
puzzle game.
Yeah,
That's
I think so.
interesting. I think that's pretty interesting.
That's how I view them.
Well, does the co-op make it more actiony because you're working in tandem with someone else and it's a little bit more fast-paced?
I suppose
That barely counts.
I think most people playing together, one person's going to be trying to sabotage the other one, so it will turn into an action game by accident.
I want to give a shout out to our B-roll operators because they had no idea what games we were going to be talking about, and they are able to pull this up so fast.
Crazy.
Doing God's work over there. So many games are action games. What isn't an action game?
Dobra, słuchajcie, jesteśmy. Znaczy ja jestem z powrotem. Gadałem tutaj nadal o tych action games. Wiecie co, niezbyt mnie to szczerze interesuje w ogóle. Także na razie wyciszymy streama IGN-u, puścimy tą muzykę ze Spotify'a. I zastanawiam się, bo mamy godzinę, żeby coś porobić innego niż oglądanie konferencji na E3. I myślę, że pokażę wam po prostu pulpit. I wracamy do tego, co wczoraj trochę mieliśmy zrobić, ale w sumie zrobiliśmy. Mianowicie do prezentacji o CDP-ie. I chciałem bardzo obejrzeć film NoClipa, żeby dokładnie przypomnieć sobie historię CD Projektu. Tak więc będziemy na NoClip kanał na YouTubie. I tutaj strasznie chciałbym obejrzeć te filmy. The Witcher series, The Story. Jakbyście czekajcie, bo muszę zobaczyć, co tu napisałem, tak by the way. Aha, jeszcze dostałem plaksa ze szkoły. Za chwilę pójdę go zrobię. Back in two people, Marcin Wiński and Michał Kiciński, founded the company named CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt. The main focus of the company was on localizing and distributing games for Polish market. They work with such famous game studios as Blizzard, Blue Byte or BioWare. Czy można wydać loga tych film? Weźmy sobie tutaj. Dobra, to już chyba wiem, jakby można było, jakbym mógł ten slajd rozbudować, bo nad tym się ciągle zastanawiam, jak ja mam to zrobić. Dobra, w sumie jak nie będziemy oglądać tą klipa, to nie gra w tle muzyka. Bo tak będzie za cicho trochę, jak nie będzie grać muzyka i... Myślę, że ja tutaj po prostu powiem więcej, czym jest dystrybucja i znaczy przede wszystkim lokalizacja gier na rynek. Jakby to wytłumaczyć, no. I myślę, że... S i tu damy dwukropecek i damy sobie Blizzard. Z kim on jeszcze? A, Bioware. No, myślę, że jest całkiem spoko. No i tu bym więcej powiedział o tym, czym jest lokalizacja gier. I byśmy zrobili nowy slajd. Zastanawiam się, bo teraz tak, to trzeba dobrze jakoś przedstawić. Może tak by... To w ogóle jeszcze będę musiał podzielić. Nie wiem, czy tutaj się pisze successful. Successful. Siema Adek. Tylko co oni zrobili? Ja szczerze tego nawet nie wiem, bo mnie Gewrota Baldura... Aha, po prostu Baldur's Gate pierwszej gry? Po prostu, dobra. Jakoś mi ta cholera nie wchodzi. Nie wiem kurde czemu. Ej, czemu są takie same? Nie chcę dwóch takich samych slajdów. Nie chcę mi się tego robić, kurwa, no nie wiem, jakoś mi ta prezentacja nie idzie, nie rozumiem tylko czemu. To mnie zastanawia. Wcześniej coś ode mnie chciał Denis. Ja aż muszę zobaczyć, co on dokładnie chciał. Zaraz zobaczymy. O, widzę, że zamknąłem przeglądarkę i się zjumbało się, zaraz. Naprawimy. To będzie to. Znaczy chyba tak, bo mam tu otwartą, nie mam otwartej konferencji, więc niech będzie też to. A wy widzicie normalnego Facebooka. Może niekoniecznie chcę, żebyście widzieli mojego Facebooka, tak więc patrzcie na Cyberpunka. Dobra, mam podać średni temat z geografii. To pierwsza rzecz, zaraz pójdę to zrobić. Prędkość fotonu na fizykę. Dobra, poczekajcie, ja idę zrobię w takim razie zdjęcie ostatniego tematu z geografii dla kolegi z klasy. Także kontynuujemy przerwę. Wiecie co, nie wiem co ja tu szczerze będę robił. Nie wiem co ja tu będę szczerze robił. Mamy ile? No jeszcze trochę do konferencji tej o CT projekcie mamy. Także wiecie co, ja zrobię taką przerwę, że w ogóle wyłączę streama. I nie wiem, chyba pójdę zagrać sobie w FIFA. Bo jest teraz darmowa, jakby ktoś nie wiedział, to w ogóle polecam sobie ściągnąć do 16 do jakoś rana, coś takiego będzie dostępne, jest dostępna FIFA. Pełna wersja do zagrania kompletnie za friko, tak więc naprawdę polecam, ja w to teraz gram dużo. Także tak jak mówię, słuchajcie, zrobimy sobie teraz przerwę już taką jakby kompletną i widzimy się przed 23, myślę, że gdzieś tak za 10 minut. 23 zaczniemy i ponownie posłuchamy sobie panelu o Cyberpunku. Miejmy nadzieję, że będzie tam coś ciekawego. Szczerze nie wiem, czy będziemy oglądać to o Falloutie, bo aż tak mnie Fallout tak naprawdę nie interesuje. Tak więc pewnie później znowu będzie taka dłuższa przerwa i będziemy oglądać kolejny panel o 2:30, co jest dopiero właśnie związany z Cyberpunkiem. W każdym razie dzięki póki co za te panele, które dzisiaj widzieliśmy na E3. I tak jak mówię, do zobaczenia za mniej więcej 40 minut, kiedy będziemy przygotowywać się do kolejnego panelu. Także dzięki za oglądanie i do zobaczenia już niebawem. 'Cause that's the way it's meant to be.